Looking, going live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast. This is season 2, where we focus on being united under one sky. The observable cosmos are available to us all, so it's time to look up. I'm your host, Sachi the Seer, owner of the True Sky Crew. You can find me at Sachi the Seer on Instagram, YouTube, X, and Threads. I offer a multitude of courses, services, and items to help you assist in manifesting your highest vibrational timeline. To explore more about that, you can visit my website at sachitheseer.com, or you can watch episode 1 of season 2, which goes into depth of what I offer. Make sure that you get the True Sky Crew calendar and daily planner for June. That is available on the True Sky Crew, or I'm sorry, the True Sky Astrology tools on my website. You can also comment on pretty much any of the posts on the True Sky Crew Instagram, and you will see those. So, welcome to episode 2. Again, we have a very, very special guest today, Amber Green of Celestial Healing 444 and True Sky Human Design. I'm going to introduce her and share her services and offerings, and then we'll get into our special topic today, True Sky Human Design. So Amber is a quantum energy reader and healer whose main purpose in all of her work is to help women remember, integrate, and embody their true soul essence and align with their highest energetic blueprint. She specializes in True Sky Human Design, but also uses True Sky Astrology and the Mind Dream Spell in her work. She weaves the deeper knowledge of the I Ching and the practices of Tantra in all of her creations and in her one-on-one work with women. Her soul origin is from the Andromeda Galaxy, and she is a galactic ambassador that assists in the planetary ascension process. She is also a devotee of the Divine Feminine, the Divine Masculine, and the Goddess, and her mission here is one of cosmic balance and restoring divine justice through each soul's beautiful, painful, intense, and incredibly unique journey to remember our inherent wholeness. Amber, welcome to the podcast. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started your spiritual path, and how did you get to where you are now?
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So where my journey began is what you first asked, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Where the awakening really began was about 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago. I actually got sober. And so that was truly like my, soul ripping open moment. And that really sent me into the depths of all that is to just discover everything about spirituality, the universe, myself in totally new ways. So, of course, then fast forward, I was in recovery communities, but then I did outgrow some of them. And about 3 to 4 years ago, I exited those. Still, my journey is to stay and be sober, of course, but I then was brought massively deeper just as I continued my emotional and mental and all energetic kind of journey. Because I also began meditating back then, about 7.5 years ago, daily, devoted to the practice. And all of that was just a huge part of just helping me remember, helping me forget, forget the things that weren't me and remember. And so the last 4 to 5 years have been, more the full soul, galactic, all things awakening, remembering, Akashic kind of journey, and of course, True Sky, a huge, huge part of that. So that came into astrology, had come into my journey and awareness about, I don't know, a couple years into that last 7.5 year cycle. But then probably about five years ago, True Sky started coming in, so it didn't fully. And I do believe it in some ways has to happen, like kind of to many of us in that way, where um because I didn't relate with a lot of it right away, but then once it came back again, I had gone deep enough within myself that I was ready. And I was like, oh yeah, like I don't relate to any of this tropical. Now this was just astrology, it wasn't human design or anything yet. And that really started making me go deeper and see different things about myself, decondition, again, just let go. It's like in the path of self-discovery, it's we're not just putting on all the new outfits, we're
Mm-hmm.
massively purging also. That's, well, supposed to be what's happening. So, I was just continuing to let go and of more and more and more. So that then when True Sky really started coming into my awareness somewhere between 4 to 5 years ago, it was just that it spoke to me, and then everything really started to change. It truly was like, and I think it is, like this button, that's like, okay, well, we're getting ready to find out now everything, we're,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yeah.
gonna see everything, not only about ourselves, all the different incarnational journeys that we've had, and but then about everything around us. It changes everything. And I mean, it really, really did for me, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Being on the more organic timeline of being connected to the actual celestial bodies, it really does. It changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that during this time that like True Sky information started to come through. So was it bits and pieces that were coming through, or was there one really big aha moment where the True Sky, I guess, revealed itself, so to speak?
Yeah, there was definitely kind of two of those. I mean, the main one, I don't know if you've heard me share this in other spaces or if I have said this to you, but the main one, of course, I think a lot of us have this moment, was with a fucus itself. So
Yeah.
I I had already, so that was when, let me think back a little bit more into the actual, that this timeline was, I had the first kind of big moment where sometime 2020, 2021, where I definitely just attuned with my chart in that way, just the astrological True Sky chart. And I saw it. I started just like drawing out charts and doing that for my friends. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Yeah, like this is so much more me. But then that wasn't like such a huge moment. But then let's fast forward about a year, probably past that. So sometime maybe 2022. Then, because at that point I was still only looking at charts for just true sidereal. So it was still, it was more true, but it was still all the zodiac signs being 30 degrees, the same size. Ophiuchus wasn't there, so it was still 12. And so then probably about 2022, I was just like, I don't know what I was doing. Yoga out in the sun. I do that all the time, every day now. But at that point in time, I was kind of like doing this cosmic yoga thing where I was just deeply like attuning with where the planets were, just based off of using like a star app on our phone. And one day I saw a fucus, and I think it was like the sun was there. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, wait a second, what? And it, so then that changed everything. Then I'm like Googling 13 sign zodiac, and really there's not, I haven't done this now in a while, obviously, because I'm just living in it, but I don't know what's out there now when you Google that. But at that time, there wasn't much coming up other than like debating it. All that
Yes.
was really coming up was like, oh, like the astrology community just being like, that's bullshit. What? There's not a 13th sign. But then, my eyes are showing me, yes, there is. And there's a planet there, a very important one, the most, if we could say there's one in our solar system. The sun is there. So then yeah, I mean, I can't even remember the rabbit holes that brought me down and through, but whoa, yes, massive. Many of them, researching a fucus, attuning and finding out who Asclepius is, and like just, and then I did start finding some 13 sign astrology resources through Instagram, through the internet, and I was like, oh my God. So then that was when that really all opened up for me. And then it wasn't long after that, because I had already been using human design and I was vibing with it still. It was vibing with me and all was well. I was living it, and my reality was going well. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool system too. And I had a friend who at the time, she was a tropical projector in human design. And we were just vibing with that and it was working and we loved it. But then it wasn't long after I discovered all of the 13 sign stuff, and I just, dove deep. All of my work shifted and changed. Well, that's actually when, like, I had just been doing in person, energy healings and doing Reiki and things like that. But then I just started coming out in the world in different ways through the internet. Like, I don't even think, I mean, I know I didn't, I'm just not remembering the timeline, but I didn't even have an Instagram until I made one for my work, So, um, but then is when it wasn't long after that then I found finally a way to map true sky human design. And then that's when everything then really changed, because then all of these, not all of these, but those two systems that were always really speaking to me and felt a lot like they held truth and, were giving me this validation of things I already knew and felt in myself, but was helping me in that way go deeper into them. Once I found that you could also map this way with human design, because it's based in astrology, and that changes everything in human design too. Then everything has been just completely different since then. So yeah, I would say my biggest moment, of course, was with a fucus, and that 13th sign, the 13th gateway. I mean, literally, you get pulled through the 13th gateway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Which I know Ophiuchus is definitely a catalyst for many of us, because especially for those who are stargazers and things like that, where undeniably you can see in the sky that planets, celestial bodies are moving through Ophiuchus. And obviously you can't see it when it's the sun, with your naked eye, but once you use a sky app and you see the sun there, if you know astrology, that okay, it's a zodiac sign by definition. And that is really one of the biggest things for me when people are saying Ophiuchus isn't a sign. It's like a zodiac sign by definition means that the sun transits through that constellation. That's how those constellations are specifically picked out compared to all the other ones.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if the sun is moving through Ophiuchus, then by definition, it's a zodiac sign.
Yes. Yes. My favorite when you just said that is when then you'll also hear those same people say that it doesn't matter what constellation that it's actually
Right.
in. It's like,
Right.
excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me. This is literally what astrology is. We're looking up at the planets to, yes, see what is this stream of energetics and consciousness that's coming through this particular star system. So yes, I'm pretty sure it does actually matter
Yeah.
what system it's actually in, like that's just, it's like baffling.
Exactly.
Baffling.
The sky should be the primary data source for
Yeah.
any astrological or celestial understanding.
Yes.
And I always say that if you're not using the actual celestial bodies for astrological analysis, you can't claim that you're aligned with the stars because
No.
you're literally not. You're
No.
aligning with a mathematical Gregorian calendar algorithm.
Yes.
And I want to touch upon a little bit about what you mentioned when you first recognized that the sun was going through a fucus. And as you were Googling, because in episode 1 of season 2, that was a major topic of discussion, is that the lack of resources, the lack of readily available information is what keeps a lot of people from actually implementing true sky practices, mostly like calculators and things like that, easily.
Hmm.
So, of course, anyone can use a Sky app, but it takes a special kind of person to be able to derive data from it
Hmm.
rather than having something handed to them, whether that is in chart form or written form. Most people do want the answers handed to them, where the phase that we're living in right now is you either find that information for yourself or you become a leader in providing that information.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I would definitely say you are the spearheader for the True Sky human design. So it
Yeah.
really is such a pleasure to have you here. And I want to take some time to talk about your services and your gifts. I want to
Mm.
showcase those before we get into the nitty-gritty of True Sky human design. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up your website and you can just guide me a little bit through whatever you want to talk about there. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. So first, I'll go to the celestial healing. There we go. Website. I love the peacock, by the way. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
gorgeous.
Thank you. That was actually um another beginning part of just the sky and some of my other incarnational like stories coming through Pavo, the
I was
concept
going to ask
of
if you
Pavo.
have like
Yeah, yeah,
Pavo
yeah.
alignments or activations.
Well,
Beautiful.
yeah, it literally spoke to me like, and it had come to me in a dream, literally a peacock, but it was a peacock that then like disappeared into the dream, like stardust was all around it. And it was one of those dreams where you were like, that was not a normal dream. Like that was a straight up magical kind of visitation. But not long after it led me into that. So like I have some galactic histories also in Condor Galaxy, because there's a galaxy through Pavo there. So that's mainly what my connection is with that. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Okay, so if someone were to come to celestialhealing13.com, what would they be in search for?
Well, this is mainly so you can't like get any of my services here per se. This is more so just to kind of showcase the umbrella of like all that I do under this name of celestial healing. So, and then mainly also to showcase the courses that I've made, which is the New Earth Goddess program. And, I also kind of call it the Diamond Phoenix Dark Goddess, because that's what we're activating within our genetic template in what I have created through here. So that's mainly what people will see on here. It gives a lot of detailed information of what these courses actually do and are, which is, just basically clearing out your energetic container, helping women to build their light body. They're going to do and go through some massive um, generational and ancestral kind of healings, clearings, to uplift a lot of women have gotten held down in basically like the dark lunar matrix in
Yes.
their genetics, right? So but what's, hard is that there are parts of that that are beautiful that we need, that we are still aligned with as being connected with the true divine dark goddess. So basically, all of these courses, it's just energetic attunement. It's not like all of this work. I do have, um, prompts that I have put together that go with each after the woman has listened to the energetic attunement, which also does include speaking out the things that I am, saying. So it's repeating out things that are going to help a woman clear, massively clear, purge, pull in her own unique codes, right? So it's like, yes, clearing things in a more quantum macro way, but when a woman can, in her own space and time, do something like this, be repeating out of her own vessel and calling things into her, it's a very powerful experience that I think it just has to be experienced in that way. But I have then prompts that go with, each week to two that a woman would go through each of those, that are, each of the attunements are chakra based, and but then to help integrate, because that's what else is lacking in all of this work, right? Is it's like, oh, okay, I did this meditation, I got this massive activation, and I felt high and crazy and cool, and I saw my star family, and then they just go back to life and nothing happens, and they're right back into their old energetics, right? So that is not what this is. This is like going to basically be walking a woman through the soul retrieval journey on her very own, with the support, of course, though, of the portal system that I work with, the Mother Arc portal, and lots of different portal work that I and many of us do here. But then also with just having the knowledge part of the courses is just also trying to ground the woman into her true sky astrology, just letting her learn how to read the charts on her own. So to read her true sky astrology, to understand basics of what these things mean, and then also some information about shifting from the tropical human design chart into the true sky, like how I personally work with both of those, and like some of the components that do kind of transfer and combine, others that don't, just lots of details about that kind of stuff. And then also some information about the Mayan dream spell, which is that other system that I do use. I honestly don't speak to it much, only because I just don't think a lot of people are ready for it yet. It's an extremely out of this world nonlinear system that just, I don't know, just doesn't land with everybody yet, but hopefully soon. So yeah, they'll just see this, description mainly of what these courses are, and then at the bottom of the page is just going to redirect them to where then they can go, like that will just redirect them to the site where you can actually buy my courses. And then same, I forgot I do have my podcast on there too. But at the very bottom, there's just another button where you can just go see all of my other services, which is on my Stan store.
Okay. And so for this Dark Goddess course, so each phase is a video where you do the sound code, like incantation. Um, and then it comes with did you say worksheet that comes with it for that?
Basically,
Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then the
But
chart stuff.
yeah, and it's, I mean,
Very cool.
I have each phase set up to where if they do follow the way that I suggest that they follow, it
Hmm.
will take probably about 3 to 6 to 9 months to hopefully complete the entirety of it. So I'm hoping that then in each phase, they do follow that suggestion, take their time, and work through it accordingly in a like 1 to 2 week process where there's, for the first phase, there's 7 different attunements because we're just clearing and uplifting all 7 of the main chakras. Then the 2 is where then you start building out the light body, and then phase 3, same, like way more of the building of the light body, but also going deep down. That's what's different with the way that I have made and see the chakra system when we're expanding it, is that most people in this work and in the new age and anything like this, they're still only grounding down into the earth star chakra, which is not, I don't agree with that at all, not with grounding into it, but we have to go lower. There's other, not necessarily chakras, but yes, there's places within the inner earth layers of consciousness that we need to ground deeper into, that also not everyone is allowed access to. So
Hmm.
um but for the women I know my work is for, they are, and they need to go deeper. Like it truly is, I'm beginning to hear this in some aligned communities, that yeah, we're not just ascending, we're also descending, right? But that's that's a big huge thing of what all of my courses are too, is it's bringing them literally in every sense of as above so below, all of that true, just macro, micro, their Akash, Earth's Akash, like all of it. We're bringing it all together.
Beautiful. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a wonderful course to offer, and um, I'm interested in exploring it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your podcast,
Yes.
the Mother Arc Portal 13th Gateway.
Yes. So this is what I've kind of have here as the title, right? Is that the intention is that I'm trying to bring through lots of information to help bridge the dimensions that we're all moving through, right? But through these systems of 13 sign astrology, 13 sign human design, and the mind dream spell. Now, I do mostly speak about true sky human design because that's mostly my jam. And then
Hmm.
there's just so much to speak to. But I could also just coin this just a massively ascension podcast too. I do go on many different rants when I'm called to just speak to lots of different things that are happening and changing in the world. Always though based in all of my work and all that I am and all that I'm ever speaking to is just always wanting the intention of more liberation, more sovereignty, and clearing out what and who and what that can mean, whether it's a system, organizations, human beings that are not serving that. So I just speak to all kinds of different things like that here. And I really did, when I was called to create this, I I really did, like, all of my work truly is like a portal. Even interacting with me many times, that's what's really occurring when I'm doing work with people. But the podcast itself is very much that too, truly like serving just as this kind of 13th gateway also to hopefully reach people that are ready to see things very differently.
Yes, excellent. And I have listened to one of your episodes. It was on the divine masculine, like how to identify it, and it was really great.
Mm-hmm.
I was nodding along at some points. I'm laughing at some points.
Yeah.
You're also very clever, and some of the things are a little like silly
Wrong.
in a good way, like funny.
Yeah.
So it was good. Yeah, I really
Good.
enjoyed it. So
Okay.
for anyone who wants to check out Amber's podcast, Mother Arc Portal, you can find it on Apple. And if you just go to her website, celestialhealing13.com, you can just click this little listen button or big button.
Mhm.
And then your quantum energy services. So should I go to your stand store to
Yeah, you
go
can
through
go there.
those?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that
So
will just
let's,
redirect people to here once they click
gotcha.
that. And
Okay.
then,
So
yeah,
we
this
have,
is where you can actually get everything, get the courses and everything else.
okie doke. So here's the courses. You do a monthly membership
Yeah.
a mentor membership
Hmm.
and soul essence reading, which can you just give a brief description? We'll just kind of go one by one and you can just share a little bit about what each one is.
Yeah. I'll go quick. Just, yeah, the soul essence is just, it's really why I have that picture there, is because that's what it's showing for people, is a little combination of the three systems that I work with, but only simplified parts from it. And then, of course, it is like a one on one session. So I would show them this map, maybe some other things. Like, all of my sessions are always super unique to whatever it is, basically, that person is needing to be pulled through and that their highest self is communicating to me. So I'm very fluid with the information that I give people in that way. But this one is just focused for those who are ready to kind of see a more multidimensional picture of their blueprint, and that won't be confused by it, if that makes sense. Some people, they're like, hang on, I'm just trying to understand my astrology, like not ready for a
The full
bigger
shebang. Yeah.
view. Yeah. Yeah. I love using all things in threes because I feel like it's pretty much a surefire way to not be conditioned by too much of whatever's in those things, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
like systems included. So,
Yeah. Not getting stuck
yeah.
in with one thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wise. And then
Oh, yeah.
the flower essence.
Yes. So I do. This is just huge, huge part of just also my personal path and journey too, is just flower essences. I work with them every day. I'm so, so, so attuned and at one with all of the plant kingdom in that way. That's been a newer thing that came to me over the last few years. And for anyone that doesn't know, the essences are not any chemical compound. So it's not essential oils, it's nothing like that. It's just actually the spirit of the plant, normally made in solar infused water. So there's lots of different flower essence companies out there. That's normally who I get mine from, but I do make some of my own as well. I don't like sell them as a retailer, but I do make them in these consultations. This is where I would make custom formulas for people, just depending on what flowers are coming through. It's been an amazing tool to assist in ways with the subtle energetic bodies that I feel like I haven't been able to find any other modality that works in this way. It's just beautiful. So,
That is amazing. Yeah, the plant kingdom is incredible.
mhm,
In our daily planners, we and our calendar, we have a flower to work with every single month, and then in
mhm,
the daily planner, every lunar cycle, we have 2 to 3 remedies. Sometimes they're flowers, sometimes they're other non-flowering plants,
mhm,
fungi, and crystals in order to assist with various transits and so on. And it really
mhm.
helps because it's a very grounded way. It's something that's
Yeah.
physically tangible,
Mhm,
that is external to the energetic body that can, go into the internal
mhm.
body, whether you eat it or smell it or maybe just wear it.
Yep.
Obviously, I don't recommend eating crystals, but uh, I
Yes.
guess except maybe salt.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah,
I love
that's a
that.
really, really amazing service to offer and one that the True Sky crew really vibes with.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I feel like the plant kingdom period is just, it is real. I mean, hello, it's always been alive, but I mean, I feel like it's a lot more online in the spirit way as well too now. And that's exciting,
Yeah,
because they have so much to teach us. I love
yeah.
them.
So much that the collective has forgotten in a way
Yeah.
that we need to re-remember because all of our solutions reside in nature.
Yeah.
And so connecting with all of the other inhabitants on this planet is so important because there are, brethren and sisters. So we're all here together.
Yep.
We might as well work together. And I feel like that is also why a lot of the plant and animal kingdoms have also been energetically ascending to make sure that they're communicating very openly with humanity even more like, hey,
Mm.
we really got to work together to, I don't
Get
want to
this
say save the
shit.
planet because the planet doesn't need saving in a way,
Right.
but to kind of get with a new program here
Yeah.
of one of co-creation with nature rather than just destruction and extraction.
Yes. 100%. Yes. They've taught me so many surprising lessons of just so many things, and the main one honestly being abundance, like something I wasn't.
Yes.
Such an obvious lesson that they have to teach, but I guess I'm saying it in that way because they also meet us where we are very well. So I love that because it's like, they literally do. They know exactly what each unique person needs from them. And even though they do still have a very collective or unique signature or essence, they still will very much teach you and I a very different lesson when we
Yes.
deal with them. And I just
Hmm.
love that. So, they really taught me a lot about how they're the best teacher of non-scarcity, because
Yes.
they're just like, go ahead, especially weeds. Weeds are my favorite because
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, bitch, cut me down. I'm coming right back. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And most
So,
of these things that are considered weeds are actually very powerful healers. I mean, dandelion
mm-hmm,
being the most obvious of,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
having better cardiac results than all the statins on the market. So it's
Yeah.
like, of course, there's a whole propaganda machine against it.
Yep.
And it's so beautiful too. Just its life cycle is
Oh,
really beautiful as well.
yes, I love the dandelion for that
Hmm.
reason too, because of the different lessons just it alone teaches us in its cycle. But of course, also the poison flowers are most definitely my favorite.
Oh,
But
nice.
they are not for the faint of heart. I always have
That
to give
is
it
true.
no, I have to give a disclaimer because the massive fear portals that they will bring
Yes.
us through, even I was not prepared for. So they're amazing. And I basically can't live without them not being in my system most days now. But it's they are poisonous for a reason.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have quite a large apothecary of almost every single thing I've grown myself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I definitely have a lot of things in the apothecary that people might give me a little side eye for.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Those are the best, some of the
But
best medicine.
yes, exactly. Yes,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
true.
Yep. Okay. So
So
yeah, go ahead.
your true sky human design, which obviously we'll get deeper into what this entails once we start the topic, but you offer it by the hour. Yes?
Yes. So you'll
Okay.
see now, yeah, you can kind of breeze through these if you want, because
Okay.
I have kind of um repeats of different things just to try to give also kind of meet some people where they are. It's not my
Hmm.
best gift. I'm like, y'all, I'm way up here
Yeah.
up in the sky. You gotta jump. Um but yeah, the difference in prices for those ones more on the top is just the typical like one-on-one session. Either you can
Hmm.
do 1 hours or 2 hours. You would think that an hour would be enough, but I'm just telling you, like, I mean, human design is so rich in a
Yes.
beautiful way that, believe me, 2 hours is amazing sometimes, especially for me because I can just go on for days about it. But and then I have one other thing here that's just kind of like more focused in on helping people see, because there's so many that are like, I don't know if I'm in my tropical or if I'm in my true sky. But I mean, either way, any of my sessions will just be giving you information a little bit on both, because I really do work with them, not together. I'm not ever like, oh yeah, like you're in your tropical now. No, but we normally all are coming from that tropical human design. So there are definite like actual key codes and activations in it that is what actually activates our higher blueprint, especially because this is so connected in with our genetic coding, which we'll get into more when we go
Hmm.
into detail. But then these other two I do love, and I wish more women were ready for these, but I've unfortunately only been able to do like one or two of doing human design business sessions where I work up, I put a chart together for in the true sky mapping way for your business, for a creation, for a podcast. I mean, it can be anything, for an event maybe that you're going to throw. Like if you have the somewhat, date time of when you came up with this, that's what I normally will use
Okay,
for
that's what I was
a
going to
birthday.
ask is if you use that, which I
Yes.
do have, all of the detailed information of all my businesses for sure,
Yeah. I would
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it. If you want to share and you want to know, yes, send it to me because I love even more so some for some reason. doing those sessions. And I think it's because those energetic blueprints, they're like, they're equally alive, especially for these
Hmm.
newer, like, someone else hearing this, if you're, I don't know, not understanding like the kind of things that you and I have created. I mean, the these are living, breathing creations. Like, we are not like creating in the third dimensional space way. We are just channeling all of the different things that are coming through us. And so I love working with those blueprints because they're like so pure, because it's
Yeah.
not an actual human, but it's still
Yeah.
very much this energetic blueprint of what that creation is. So why else I love it is then it can give someone like me or any of the non-sacral types more access to some different energetics, to just be able to work with these creations in ways that help kind of exalt our energy in different ways. But even for all the types, it just really is a really cool way to help you deeply attune with your creation or business in a very sacred way, to
Yes.
learn things about its own energy so that you can keep working with it in that way, or learn to work with it in that way, like it is a living, breathing thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my specialty, one of them, is astrological chart hacking. So I use charts to hack them in order to accomplish various goals or basically whatever needs to be completed. And I use my charts for my businesses for hacking them for different things. And because the business, it does have a spirit of its own, but because, like you said, it's not human, the way you can use a chart for a business is so much smoother sometimes compared to a
Mm-hmm.
human because there's no resistance from the business if it's not
Yes.
aligned. It's
Yes.
just like, okay, this is going to happen and this is going to be the result. And
Yes.
it's just like boom, bam, bing, bang. Like it's just, it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I
different,
love doing that.
right?
But I haven't done that for anyone else. I've only done it for myself
Yeah. It's really
or for
cool.
my businesses, I should say.
I'm hoping that more, well, I know there will be, I just don't know time frames, but that more women who are begin creating like you and I are will give us some more clientele in that way to, assist. Because yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? I love it.
It
Uh,
is. Hmm.
yeah. Okay, and then yeah, this last one is, I haven't done any of these recently either. This was more of like an original kind of distance session that I was doing years ago. But I don't know, I just leave it up because in case someone is drawn to it. And I have shifted it a bit where my Akashic readings are different probably than some do, in the way that I also am extremely co-creative in that process with the person when we're doing that. So like the main part that I'm doing and focusing on is the energetics and literally getting us into that true like portal and realm space of their Akashic records in an extremely safe and protected way. But then I really like for them to be a part of it more than I think sometimes they realize, because it's like, oh, it when you come here to do sovereign work, it's like the point of it is that they learn to find out what are these answers for themselves. So
Yeah.
many times, we go into the records and we're asking, but I'm actually really also trying to train women how to do that while we're doing it. So I'm trying to also have them understand and feel the frequency of being there, what it feels like and I'm always asking them first, what did you get when I
Hmm.
asked this, and if they don't, and I don't like it to be full of pressure. So I always prepare them in that way too. I'm like, it's fine. Listen, if you're getting nothing, fine. Don't worry. I'm going to tell you what I'm getting from it. Right. But I want us to be in this together, and I want you to sit with it and see, what do you hear? What do you feel? What comes through when we ask these questions? Um, because that's the point of all of this, right?
Yeah, it's
It's like,
true.
I don't, I, of course, do I want people to come to me for some of these things? Yes, mostly just because it's cool and I love it. And it's freaking awesome to help people like find more of their soul and get in tune with themselves and out of society in ways that are killing them. But ultimately, I would like to just do one of these readings with someone and then never see them again because they go discover everything and they're sovereign and they're golden, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so I'm just, a lot of what I'm always doing is also kind of inadvertently trying to just transfer through that frequency too of teaching all, especially women, that we know how to do this stuff, ladies. Like
Exactly.
you just forgot,
Hmm.
So this particular reading will also combine like back end work of the 13 sign astrology, like custom charts that I'll make for them in this way of their human design, of both of their human design charts, just showing them a little bit of how it combines, and their dream spell. Again, just even if the information means nothing to them, it's activating them in different ways too before the reading to just kind of assist in some organic coding, getting through more to them before we go do that big work.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually, this is the service that I found that actually made me reach out to you in the
Uh-huh.
first place. So, full disclosure to everybody, I actually started talking to Amber about this service, and I just wanted to ask her a couple questions about it. So, we exchanged a handful of messages back and forth, and the because I have never seen anyone who does a 666 seal removal. And so that's why I was very curious because the 666 seal had been revealed to me and I was looking into it and there really is a lot, there's a lack of information on that. It seems like I want to say maybe 10 sentences that are just repeated on all websites and things like that. So I started sort of tapping into this seal removal energetically myself. I reached out to Amber and was talking to her, over the course of maybe a week or a couple weeks. And the the answers I need, and also I had questions about the Akashic. The answers that I had about the Akashic revealed themselves. The 6-6 seal removal occurred, and that is how I knew Amber's energy was just so potent. That just talking with her a little bit, the goals were achieved. So it's pretty incredible. I will also let everybody know that I have gotten a goddess report from Amber, also very energetically. I don't want to say, I mean, it is intense, but energetically strong. That's
Mhm.
the word I want to say. Very energetically strong. I got the goddess report from her after feeling a call to get back into goddess work after working with a lot of different gods. And a couple days after I received my goddess report, which before I got this reading from Amber, I did a reading myself just to make sure that it was energetically safe to connect and get this reading and so on. And the message that I received was yes, it's safe, but if you do this, the only men that are going to enter your life will worship you as a goddess. And I said, okay, that sounds fine to me. And so I got the report, and 2 days later, a gentleman came in my life, immediately addressing me as goddess, worshiping me, and it cleared out so many karmic blueprints, or not even blueprints, prints that
Mhm.
really needed to be removed, and some of my karmic sludge that had been sort of hanging around for, I want to say, 8 years. That cycle finally closed itself. So just really potent work, even though the report had nothing to do with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Other than, goddess was part of it, but it really, not only did I receive a lot of data based on my chart and different goddess asteroids, but it actually, the way that it sort of showed up in my life was an energetic attunement.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah,
why.
Amber's stuff is not for the faint of heart, that is for
No.
sure. And
Yeah.
even just being near it, it can shift things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you just said this seriously because I'm so glad that you just said this because I am so deeply understanding this now too. yet it is always still a quite odd thing to express because that can't sound anything but arrogant, basically, for me to say, yes, you just come into contact with me and like a whole bunch of shit is going to get cleared and you're going to get activated.
Yes,
But my reality does keep
it's true.
mirroring that to me.
Mhm.
Yes. And just to drop a little detail of the Mayan dream spell stuff in here, I do believe too, that's where I love that system. In that system, I'm the storm, the blue storm. So that's just, it literally is a lot of what my energetics do. Is I'm called to where there needs clearing, where there needs transformation, and I'm just kind of in and out. Not very good for marketing though, huh? It's
Well,
like, oh, just go on my website and then maybe your life is fine.
it's kind of funny that you mentioned, sometimes you'll do a reading and you'll never hear from someone again.
Oh
And
yeah.
for
Yeah.
so long, I was a shadow worker. I mean, I still am a shadow worker, but I worked with people who were deep, deep in their trauma cycles.
Mm-hmm.
I specialize in tapping into people's deepest traumas and deepest wounds to help them understand it and heal their way out of it. Now my clientele that I attract is very different, but at that time, the greatest reward was them telling me I'm okay now. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
need help. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so rewarding. Again, it's not the best business plan, I guess, if you're going to take it to the bank, but
Yeah.
the
No.
energetics of it are so rewarding and so
Mm-hmm.
abundant because now then that person has the ability to help others in the same way. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
the fractal effect that we want. And even if on paper, businesses like the ones that we have aren't, maximizing profits and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Um, which is all great and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
businesses that do that, but the energy that we have, the services that we do, we know we get rewarded in other ways and we know that we're so abundant and
Yes.
things flow to us. It doesn't always have to be through business either.
Yeah.
And I totally understand what you said about, not wanting to say it because it sounds arrogant, but it's not arrogant when you back it up. And that's the thing about being in, high priestess mode, goddess mode, and being
Mm-hmm.
on that level is you do change people's lives just by being in their presence. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think the collective is really waking up. And from my experience lately, a lot of it is in men specifically of
Mm-hmm.
starting to recognize the true value of an aligned woman. I mean, womankind in general, but especially those who have done their work and who are just these energy beacons of transformation just by
Mm-hmm.
literally being in proximity or energetically connecting to them, even just in chit chat, and
Yeah.
having the ability to cause life altering, paradigm shifting transformations in their life. Like
Yes.
you can't put a dollar amount on it, but we will
Mm-hmm.
see, the world is now redistributing, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the monetary wealth to women like us because we deserve it. And that's
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that too, because yes, that's what assisted me in a lot of different abundance shifts, paradigms for me personally too, is, I'm definitely not codependent like I used to be, but all of where our shadows are, there are also actually deep gifts, and I like to use that natural, we're not going to call it codependency, but my natural desire to help others against itself in that way, where I have had lots of different crazy, not awakenings per se, but refinements of how I see things with money, with abundance, in that this is how we're going to help shift actual money, is by getting it into good and beautiful people's hands like ours,
Yes,
that because then what do people like us do with it? We use it for other things like this. We use it to help and give to other people. We aren't ever using it strictly for greed, and that's what's going to also just really assist in changing that entire frequency, because it's really not the money that's bad, it's all of the greed around it and underneath it and so much other stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
it's time.
It's everything is neutral in its essence. It's how we ascribe meaning to it and how things are utilized that are really changing. And um, I know on the podcast for anyone listening, if you in past episodes talking about the Cygnus star six system, where a lot of that alien machinery was installed of the monetary system and all the distortions, and that has been completely dismantled. So,
Hmm.
these paradigms of like only bad people have money or money is evil and all these sort of things, they simply are not true any
Yep.
longer whatsoever.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
and it's really important to, especially as a woman, embody that because if your abundance codes will never fully be online if you have shit against money.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
like it's such a
So
such a
true.
truth and there you're not a better person for thinking that you need to be poor and things
Mm-mm.
like that, especially um uh, as a woman in a service
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
led or spiritual business whatsoever. Like you cannot be barefoot and hungry and think that you're on the right path. That's just not
no,
that's
exactly.
not
No, we
good for
all,
anyone. Yeah.
no,
These
we
like
literally
martyr
worth it.
complex and things like that, they're over.
Totally. Yes, 100%. Yeah, and it is. It's all a martyr complex
Hmm.
and shadows and trauma. But yeah, and that I wanted to say too before we move on, just that
Hmm.
that's what the for anyone that doesn't know, because you're right about the 6-6 seal removal, but it's like there is this weird mix of unknowing. But what's so funny about it is that's what it is. That it's literally been this deep yet also energetic seal that was placed on all of humanity to forget, to
Yeah.
just forget everything. So it's like, of course, then too, what are we going to coin this as? An evil number. There's just so
Right.
much stuff all around it that also does always circle back to such simplicity, which is like that's what I was trying to describe to you when you were reaching out to me about it. Is it was like hard for me to describe the process of which we remove it when there isn't a particular one yet. Of course, once in a session like this, there definitely can be, which I know someone like you would understand, but it's like, it's just going to be unique to each individual. And truly, yes, the interacting with another being of which is just has the coding to remove that
Hmm.
literally also could be all that needs to occur if the being then does integrate what the session showed them. That's
Hmm.
always where all of this stuff comes into play too. And in a lot of the wording of my work, I try to put things like that too, because it's like this is a co-creative process. Like I can show you all the stuff all day, but you have to go home and do something about it. And this
Exactly.
work asks massive things of us, big things that are hard to do. So
Absolutely. That is the spiritual journey.
yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
sure if anyone, well, for everybody listening, that you heed that call.
Oh,
That's why you're here.
oh yes. To
And
oh yeah, my demise many times over especially the last few years. I mean, I have a smile on my face. I seem radiant now. I've been in this same space just dying,
mhm,
just dying literally, like clearing, crying, not, I mean, it's so much pain and suffering and trauma.
yes.
So many big things have had to be cleared. So,
Oh yeah.
whew,
Same here. Same
yeah.
here, especially as I was when my main focus was that shadow work and deep trauma healing and deepest pain, deepest wound work. I was doing it myself,
Hmm.
my dark night of the soul. I mean, you have them here and there, but my main dark night of the soul was 5 years, like right on the edge of death, just every
Hmm.
day talking to the Reaper pretty
Hmm.
much in service of letting parts of myself die that weren't meant to stay alive anymore. And I'm
So,
on the other end and I love it. And part of that is becoming a Libra now, and I'm so thankful for
oh,
that.
yes. Thank God.
My best transformation as a Scorpio was becoming a Libra, and it was
Uh,
really the ultimate challenge as well. It's like, oh
yeah.
man, really?
Yeah. Hmm. Talk about true sky. I really feel like also Scorpio itself is so little because it's like, nah,
Yeah.
bitches. No,
You
no,
can
not many
only
of you are gonna be here. No.
exactly.
Like
Exactly.
this is for passing through
Exactly.
only.
Yeah. That
It's
intensity cannot be a
mm-mm,
30-degree segmentation. That's for
mm-mm,
fuck sure. Like the
no.
sun, 5 to 7 days ish, depending on how you do the marking. But
Mhm,
whew,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
true
intense.
Scorpio. True
Oof.
Scorpio, any placement is
Yeah.
very rare, especially sun and Mercury because and moon because they move the fastest. Um,
Yes. 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 And you and I both do have that
yes, we do.
somewhere. We both have that because then there's only one actual gene key that is legit in Scorpio, one, and
100%.
it's the
Yeah.
44.
Hmm.
And you and I both
Yeah, we
do
both.
have that in 6 different placements.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I can feel that. I can feel
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And it's that though. It's that
Yeah.
because it's that code in particular is extremely connected to what we just spoke to massive ancestral and generational healing kind of shit. And yeah,
Hmm.
talk about you better be able to travel to the underworld. Yeah,
Yes.
you
Yep.
better.
Yep. I spent
Yeah.
most of my life there.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'm finally enjoying not being there, even though I can
Uh-huh.
still go there, but now it's just
Yep.
kind of like, yeah, I have a vacation
I'm
house
good.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same, same.
I
I'm
can go there
not like you
anytime.
though. Our journeys are different in the way
Hmm.
it definitely wasn't all of my life. Our journeys have been a little different in that way because I was like mass indoctrinated by a Christian cult.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
grew up Catholic
Uh,
cult.
yeah. I was a Jehovah's Witness, so I was
Okay.
literally, yeah, it is a lot different than what people
Yeah.
think.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I know what you're speaking to over the last 2 to 3 years for sure. Oh, yeah, there was some, it was mostly just what you described, your last 5 years and most of your life. Yeah, it was not
Hmm.
fun at all.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be out. I don't want
Yeah.
to go back, but I will.
Oh,
I have
I'm
to.
so thankful for both of us being out of that for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. That was rough.
And so for your Human Sky, Human Design website, is this also just kind of going into more detail about your services?
Yes. So this
Oh,
is
and you have
then,
the
yep,
chart
yep. This is the
creator.
biggest thing on this website for
Hmm.
sure is that I give just a little paragraph of trying to sort of sum up something that's very hard to, but my, lens of how this works and how the shifting works from the tropical to the true sky. But then, yeah, this chart, it's a free chart, is the biggest deal on this website because there's, as far as I know, I think you had mentioned someone that I don't know, but as far as I know, I haven't researched this again in the last 6 months to a year, but there had only been one guy that had any kind of a true sky chart
Yes.
out, but it's called Cosmic Human Design.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I don't agree with the way that he charts and maps it. I
Hmm.
do clearly say that on my Instagrams, but I am fine with throwing stones, but I also am not fine with, like, I'll tell you if I am doing that, and that's not why I have that there. It was mostly just because people were getting confused. So like they
Yeah.
would just, like, if you just go like search, as something like True Sky or
Hmm.
Sidereal Human
Yeah.
Design, it was like his site was coming up. Hopefully mine does now.
Yes.
I don't know, but um so then people were like charting themselves off of his chart, and I'm like, wait, and I need to clarify here because that's not me, like,
Yeah.
and also he literally maps it different, and I also, somebody along the line over the last 2 years connected with me, and then they knew a friend that like knew the guy, and they have like these YouTube videos that show how he changes things on the back end or whatever. So my point
Hmm.
is, I deeply then dove into that to
Hmm.
compare with the way that I was doing it and with this guy, and it's just not as accurate. So especially with the moon.
I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
which from what I understood from that post, which I did read, it basically it's very similar to the various sidereal systems based on which Ain Masha you're using. So it's basically
Yes.
what beginning star you use to segment the rest of.
Yes,
the
yes, which,
wheel, so to speak.
yes, which, and I do know that that's a good time to bring this up too in um, the world of astrology. It's like, I am not an actual astrologer. Okay. So here's the thing, but I do know that many people, and you can see if you have, if any of who's listening has ever gone on to Genetic Matrix or any kind of astrology website, there is a myriad of ways that you can map and change the settings and do the things,
Mhm.
which had been the land I was living in for like the last, when this was first beginning. So let's say from like 2022 to 20, no, maybe 2021 to 23, I was just like daily, like researching, putting in the charts in that way, looking at the sky, like literally. But
Mhm.
what I'm saying this for is because lots of different astrologers will like change the back end, um, vernal points and like all of this, weird stuff, which is fine. But here's my thing, because that's what that guy was doing, and they're like trying to tell me and explain to me, but this is why, blah blah. I'm like, cool, but whenever I put in your way and I look up at the sky in
Mhm.
real time, in real life, that is not reflecting what's happening. It was
Exactly.
almost so it, and I do think, I'm not sure now if he does do it actual true sky, meaning like the, I don't think that he does, but even 13 sign, I'm not sure. But either way, the moon was definitely way off, and some of the other ones were too. So my thing is, I this is what I have landed on after years of research. And no, I don't have the back end explanations for people, but I don't care because when you put it in, and then the chart shows me, again, natal charts aren't going to show you this, but I'm saying for
Mhm.
someone like me who's comparing all the time where the planets are and it's correct, that's what I go with. So
Mhm.
it's like, some in some ways, people in these realms and communities too, and to me, that is a very like divine masculine way of doing that shit. It's like, great, fine, you do you, I can live and let live, but like, I need people to understand that I'm doing it a different way, and that
Mhm.
I do believe it's the most astronomical, accurate, in real time way to do it.
Yes, exactly. Which is why you were asked to guest star on this episode because that's what the True Sky Crew is all about, is the most accurate celestial positionings.
Yes.
So let's get into the what everyone is here for. Okay, let's talk about True Sky human design.
Yeah.
So before we get into, I guess, the True Sky aspect of it, just a general definition of what is human design for anyone out there who doesn't know.
Okay. Human design is, it's a mix of a few different things that a man named Ra Uruhu, he channeled this system back in, I think it was the 80s. And it's a mix of astrology, but then also showing us in that zodiac wheel of astrology, um, the codes of the I Ching. Okay, so these codes are also, they're what, the way that they look, they're called hexagrams. So then in the human design, like mandala wheel, you'll see those all aligned like around the wheel. But then also, just part of like the original coding of the system is too that they say it's also connected to the Kabbalah. I
Mm,
don't totally understand that,
mm.
only in the way that it definitely, I think, gives us a bit of a true, if it's true sky, tree of life journey kind of thing,
Yeah,
which I think that's
I
where
was gonna say the shape of um
the
the
actual map.
yeah, the shape, the
Yes.
center part of the map does follow a very similar energetic system to the Kabbalistic understanding of the tree of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, yes, like that's a part of it, but I think there's just other like working parts of it. Plus, I believe maybe that was kind of Ra's spiritual beliefs, what he shifted into. I'm not totally sure on that, but and then also just this scientific like part of all of that cosmology and of what he brought through of this knowing of the neutrinos, meaning that like especially the sun, but then all of these planetary bodies are streaming down, you know, not only streams of consciousness, but then like let's say especially the sun, like actual rays of light and information
Hmm.
through to us at all times. So, you know, the human design body chart is what most people only know, right? So, what it's showing us is then to me, it's just a very deep, intricate a way of seeing astrology, but then how those energetics of the astrology and the planets are actually moving and working through our body, like what genetic codes they are linked to, and then therefore what energetics that gives us different access to, and that we are all very unique in that way. So, yeah, does that kind of sort of
Absolutely.
basically explain it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the information that it provides is it gives you astrological information and it gives you energy flow between your various placements,
Yes.
so to
And
speak.
then
And
yes, and it will then show you that each of us has in the system itself, there's actually four different auras. So that's where it's so unique and cool is it will show us that we can be a different type, meaning yes, we all have energetic bodies around us, right? Electric, magnetic
mhm.
field, but per our type in this system, it can have its own type in that way, meaning how it interfaces with reality and others is going to be a very different energetic experience than if you're this type or that type. So that's where it's like huge, very different than any other system in that way.
Gotcha. So it's also a little bit like an aura report in a way, not necessarily color, but how your auric field interacts with your external environment.
Yes, yes. Like I like to say, kind of like the personality of it, but on the strictly energetic sense, it's really showing us like the true mechanics of our
Hmm.
particular aura and that it has its own kind of flavor and density or non density. And the more that we can align with that, our life will just become in such more alignment.
Hmm. And you mentioned the I Ching and various genetic codes. So is the I Ching and gene keys inherently connected to human design?
Yes, yes. I
Okay,
forgot.
so they're all created or channeled by the same individual.
No.
Oh, okay, they're
Yeah.
not.
So here's the difference. So no, the I Ching is just the most, I mean, it's like I think possibly one of the most ancient systems that has been on this planet. Just this very old from the Chinese. Honestly, where it really originated from was a man having this spiritual experience with a tortoise and its shell and like all of
Ah,
the codes that were on it. So that's
okay.
where it literally came
13 codes
from.
once again. Yeah.
Yes, but from so long ago.
Okay.
Now, what's different is, and this confuses people too, because I will speak to these things interchangeably because they kind of are. So in human design, all of those I Ching codes are called the gates. Okay. So in human design, they call them the gates. But yes, it is also the gene keys. But where that is different is a different man. A man named Richard Rudd is the founder of the gene keys. So he used to work for and with, I think, with Raw and with the human design system, but then he went off and made his own kind of spin-off. Just it's not different per se. It's just that he took all of those gates. Well, and they took him, right? This was also a very channeled experience for him where and he's now made a much more contemplative way of sinking in with those codes. So the way I feel his system is um a middle way, like deeper than the human design gates way, but then a little bit more reachable than the I Ching, because most people are not going to pick up the I Ching and love it the way that I do, or just geek out and understand every word. And even some people don't feel like that about the gene keys because it is very deep too.
Yeah.
But it really, so yeah, I just wanted to clarify. There's
Okay.
definitely a different man that made the gene keys. But yeah, all three of these things are the same thing in the human design chart. And that is what
Gotcha.
I am trying to kind of bring to life, is then my own synergy and synthesis of probably confusing the hell out of people with the way that I do all of this, but just bringing it all together in a different way to kind of up level it, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's I Ching, correct?
I Ching,
Okay,
yes.
I was calling
Yeah.
it I Ching, but
It's okay. I think
now
some
I know.
people, it's okay. I think some people say that. It's spelled
Uh-huh.
that way. It's spelled like I Ching. So you say it however you want.
So for human design as the mainstream may know it from the person who had created it and sort of the widespread use of it
Mhm.
versus true sky human design. Can you share? I know you kind of touched upon it a little bit already, but can you share what the difference is between regular human design and true sky human design?
Yeah, well, the basis, obviously, then the basics is just like with true sky astrology. It's that of course you're going to have a different chart because the planets are in different signs and places. So that is the basics of it. So yes, it's going to change your chart, because where the tropical human design chart is saying the planets were is not at all where they were, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Now, where it is also different that I just continue to discover deeper and deeper too, again, because like you said in the beginning, I do seem to be one of the only people doing this still thus far, which is beautiful. But gosh, that was such an initiation. That was very
Hmm.
difficult to come out. I'm sure you know, it's very
Oh
difficult
yeah.
to come
I
out
was
in
the
the
only
world.
true sky astrologer that I knew for I want to say almost a year.
Yeah,
And
that's
then there was
crazy.
like three of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There's
that was
still
it.
not a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, there
there's
still is not a
still,
lot.
yeah, but yeah, so it's hard, because people, they come at you,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, wait a second. I'm especially of course the type that like I've shifted into, the projector types. Whoa, man, like they've got a big problem, the tropical projectors, most of them, because well, we can get into that later if we even do, because that's just a whole rabbit hole of itself. But basically, what's crazy is that the beauty is that this system, even in the tropical way, it really does begin to be this tool that for the first time really helps people to decondition. But then they shockingly get very conditioned by it, right?
Hmm.
Especially it seems like with human design. So when they learn, oh no, it's changing again, or this could be different, then it's like everybody has different reactions to that, but many want to be combative, so it's
Hmm.
like, okay. But what's ironic in me saying this too, or not ironic, just so connected to all of it, is the I Ching, many may not know too, is literally, it's called the Book of Changes. So
Ah.
that's what all of it, the main wisdom of it itself, like as a work of what it is teaching us that life is always changing, whether it's our own individual cycles, whether it's big cosmic ones, that is the nature of true life, is constant change,
Yeah.
so which is all that we are doing in this kind of work too.
Absolutely.
But there was one more thing I was going to actually, because what did you ask me that I feel like I didn't answer?
So the question was, what's the difference between regular human design and then true sky human design? So
Yes.
like regular mainstream uses the tropical algorithm, true
Yeah.
sky human design uses actual celestial placements.
Exactly. Yes. And then the only other thing I was going to add too is that still, for the most part, like, because I don't want to overwhelm people, I try to tell them, listen, still what's mainly out there is tropical human design information. So I try to tell them, don't be afraid. Go look at it all. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Go look and find what calls to you once you're opening up to this. But the difference in this too that I just keep finding deeper and deeper is, just like I know with the zodiac signs. It's like what a 3D consciousness actual version of a Libra is, and the 3D Earth consciousness interpretation of that is very different than what true sky, true
Yes.
Libra energy is. So
Mm-hmm.
the same is true for this human, for all of this human design stuff. Is the more I'm bringing more of this work out and the more I'm in the experiment of this process with it too, is these types, the actual building blocks of the types themselves are still, yes, very much true to what they are. But of course, a lot of this information, it's a higher frequency. So like,
Yeah.
so some things that, lots of different things that I hear and had seen about, like the tropical projector, they are not true to my experience. That is not what I'm experiencing as a true sky projector. Now, again, doesn't mean all of it. We can't blanket statement all of it. There's going to be some truths to a lot of this stuff too, but that's what I'm trying to bring more to light, even just through my process, so that people can hear me experience it, speak to it, even if it just then gives them permission to try to have their own experience of it.
Absolutely. And that is such a something that I find very common within the astrological community as well is people who function, let's say, as a Gemini in the tropical algorithm, finding out that they're a true sky Taurus. It's like, oh, you think, you're a tropical Gemini and you're just meant to be flighty and
Mm-hmm.
non-committal and detached, only to find out, oh, you're actually a true sky Taurus. You are so ungrounded. You are so disconnected from fixed Earth reality
Mm-hmm.
that it now becomes a challenge to embody that fixed earth energy. You can still, you have the lessons of the detachment and the flightiness and the letting go and all that sort of stuff that the lower vibration of Gemini may um, bring to you, but
Mm-hmm.
now you're tasked with a whole different a whole different mission of understanding yourself. And even when I find, like tropical Scorpios, for example, the distortion field of people who think that they are, who think they're a tropical Scorpio,
Mm-hmm.
and the behaviors they exhibit and the energy that they showcase and embody is so distorted again because it's based on a false sense of self. And then when
Mm-hmm.
they awaken to either true sky Libra or true sky Virgo, it's they realize that the distortion fields are different based on, whether it's their service stuff through Virgo or, relationships and internal balance through Libra. But again, true sky Scorpius is very different from a tropical Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
As you and I both know, it's not about always, um, the typical Scorpio things of, sex and death and transformation. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all that too, but it's
Yeah.
not the way that tropical exhibits it.
Yeah.
But once you're in the true sky of understanding, first of all, it's Scorpius, not even
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio. Like, that
Yeah.
is also just a language distortion
Yeah.
from the original archetype. But that the ability to go through these multi-dimensional level access, especially to the lower dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
not that they're bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lower dimensional doesn't mean bad. We have to bring ourselves there to make them not bad, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to use sort of plain layman's terms there of to embody those in the proper channels of darkness and the proper non-distorted low energy,
Mm-hmm.
lower levels, and yeah, like true darkness codes, which is not equivalent to evil or bad, of course, as you
No.
know as well. So yeah, I definitely resonate with that a lot because I find that within the astrological community as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this weird soup now of it all, right? Where it's like, gosh, how is anybody supposed to start understanding these true codes? I mean, hopefully here, UI people like us, like, but it's still confusing. It's confusing to
Hmm.
them.
I think more and more people are when they're in the mainstream astrology or even HD, it's kind of the lower vibrational aspect of like, oh, I hate a certain sign or I hate a certain, archetype or whatever. And they're going to
Mhm.
start seeing that, okay, well, if I have all the signs in my chart and things like that, then what am I hating about myself? And
Uh,
I feel like more people are searching for a deeper sense of meaning and not just accepting things at face value.
mhm,
So I think more and more people are discovering, number one, the true sky, but also sort of
mhm.
these deeper, more aligned and celestial accurate blueprints for these types of things.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so you mentioned that there was four main aura types, which I have pulled up here, and I think it's kind of interesting, very similar to astrology. When you're embodying your true sky chart, you're shifting timelines, right? Because your identity is completely different and so on. And
Yeah.
it seems like human design, understanding true sky human design is also an invitation to embody a whole different auric field.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
That
Yes.
is amazing. Would you
Yes.
mind taking us through these four different types
Yeah.
are they called auras? Is that the
Yeah.
terminology of human
Well,
design?
they call them types, but
Types. Okay.
this is what the type is referring to, because this is a
Gotcha.
whole other distortion field in the human design realm too, where so many things people are now like relating that are just personality traits or inner parts of their chart, or just working parts of them, to like being a manifester or a projector. Again, it's so similar to like what we will hear in those lower expressions of
Mm-hmm.
3D or mainstream. It's like, oh, I'm a Libra, I'm a Virgo, I do this,
Mm-hmm.
I do that. It's like the same shit. And it's like,
Yeah.
so
It's usually people trying to explain or excuse their bad behavior.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
what's so crazy is that, especially with human design, what where it makes me just frustrated and mad is that these auras really truly are very unique and different. So I do wish that more can step into it in that way, but not to be different or special, just to be able to validate their experience with the energies around them, and be able to learn how to just interface with reality in a better way. So that's what I'm always, but I'm continuing even more to try to just, like, if you go look at my True Sky Human Design page on Instagram, I think I have most of my things on both, on Celestial Healing and on True Sky Human Design. But like, I have some different kind of posts that just will show that, like, more specific things to the aura itself, to have people really starting to sink in up here and in their consciousness, like, okay, so I'm a manifester, but really all that that means is like this. We'll start with the manifester. It means that their aura is really dense. Okay, so there also can be considered to have what they call a closed aura. Nobody actually has a fully closed aura, but theirs is pretty fucking closed. Like, it is. And I can say this because I live with two of them. That what I'll give you some percentages too, where this is insane, because manifestors are only like 8 to 9% of the population. Now,
Wow.
this is like original tropical sky statistics, or tropical sky. What? I just combined. Nope, that's not a thing. Tropical HD statistics. But I have continued to check into that, and I do feel like those probably won't shift too much in the true sky statistics as well, but who knows, we'll see. But either way, they're not a common type, and that has been one of my greatest teachers. And I think why I was called to human design, and why I still am, is because both my husband and my daughter are both manifestors. And when this information came to me, even just in the tropical way, it was explaining so much about my relationship with them and my experience of them in ways that nothing else ever had. And if any type can show you how true this system is, it's the manifester, because it's such a different type. So their aura is just super dense, meaning it doesn't really let much in. So it means energetically they're really not like attuned with much around them, which sounds kind of crazy, but it kind of is. But the reason is because they're here to it says the aura impacts and repels. So that's like what we will feel from it. But also the main thing for a manifestor is to be the initiator. They are first in line. You know what I mean? So they are like our creators, our real, like straight up meaning of channelers kind of thing. That's the man that created this system. He was a manifestor, tropical manifestor. So again, doesn't mean they're the only type that can channel, but you know what I mean. It's like what
So
they're
do they more so sit in their own energy signature?
oh
Like
yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
that's like
And they kind of don't care about a lot of
the
things within
external
them for
environment.
that reason. Yeah,
Ah, uh-huh.
like they're not very, and they're not made to be. They're very much made to be true like manifestors, like creators of whatever it is that they're feeling the call to make or create or do. And then they just want to be left alone. What's kind of insane is that they're each of these types will also have like a not self theme is what they call it, that is just meaning it's a, you know, a red flag showing us like, whoa, you're out of alignment for yourself here. So theirs is anger, but what their signature is, signature meaning what they actually really are and what they want to be resonating in is peace. So they really truly are deeply peaceful beings. Like when they are just being left alone, they can do whatever the hell they want. Nobody's telling them what to do. They're beautiful, you know? Um,
It kind of
but
feels like the Libra Aries axis of like peace and anger.
mhm, yeah, that is actually very much how exactly what kind of their inner and outer being is doing. But yeah, their aura is basically just keeping shit out because it's like, nope, I'm here to do my own thing and I need you to leave me alone. And that's what you will feel when you interact with them. Now, it can be really good too because they're very powerful. Like it's a very powerful energetic to be around. You can feel a manifestor when they walk in the room. You
Mhm.
know, it's like, whoa, I think that person is in charge. It's very much like a kingly or queenly aura, you know,
Mhm.
that's like, you will bow to me.
I definitely know a couple of those in my life for sure.
Yes, yes. And you will know if you know them. And only this is where I've heard people like whenever I've described some personal things with my two close connections in that way, people will sometimes still take things I say and be like, oh yeah, my husband's or my son's like that, and kind of equate it to like a stubbornness. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. Like this is an energetic. If you try to initiate them to do anything, their aura will literally repel you. It's
Mm.
like, no, that's not happening, no matter what it is that you're saying to them. Um, okay, so then into the
And
projector. Oh, go ahead.
can I just ask you one more thing about manifestor?
Oh,
So
yeah.
in terms of like the term manifestor, is it reflective of what the
What
common
they're
man would
doing.
consider, manifesting?
Yes, it
So
actually, yeah.
their energy is so enclosed that they're able to manifest with ease because there's no outside influence, basically. Is that how that works?
Yes, and mainly though, it truly is through the throat. So it also
Hmm.
truly is the actual meaning
The
of
sound
what,
codes, the
yes, of what
speech.
manifesting
Mm.
is, which is why their strategy is to inform. So because they can literally speak things into existence and they do far more than what they realize. So they always, what will make them a manifester is that they will have a direct channel from the throat to one of the motor centers. Okay. So they literally have this ability. So not only is it a strategy for them to inform, just because it helps everybody around them to know what the hell is going on and what they're doing. Because if not, even a projector, you cannot feel into them. You cannot. Like, and if anything, even more so, a projector can't because the manifestor can feel that the projector is trying to do that. So they're like, no, no, like, um, so yeah, they literally can speak things into existence. So it's very, very good for them too to even just learn to speak to the universe because
Mhm.
everything that they say oh, it will happen. Like, so they need to
That's
watch their
beautiful.
work.
It's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sound creates matter, and it feels like they're the physical embodiment of that.
Yes, they very, very much are. Very much.
And so I know you said the next one you wanted to talk about was projector. Can I first ask you, is it the general layman's terms of someone who's constantly projecting onto
No,
others?
no, you know,
No.
it's so fun.
Okay.
No, and I literally hate that that's what this type is called. And I just started making a new reel that will probably be a post soon, literally saying that, answering that question. Because you know what I wish that the projector was called?
Hmm.
And if you look at what the aura is doing, this will make sense. I wish that it was called the confronter. Because
Hmm.
projecting, no, of course it can occur, but no, that what the projector aura is doing is absorbing and deeply seeing within whatever it is that we are interacting with. It can be a system. We are normally, projectors are masters at systems for this reason, because we can basically, like, everything in our field just like assimilates with it. It kind of like does an antivirus thing, gets rid of the bugs, and then we either make it something new or something. We do different things with our energy in that way. But with a person, with interactions, we are a deeply confronting energetic. So even this, and what people have to remember with these types in the aura, this can be with no words being said. So I can just be around a person, and if they're ready to see themselves, so like in my work, it's beautiful because, oh man, we go deep. I help people see themselves like they've never been seen before. It's beautiful. But for the average person, that's not beautiful, right? Like, it's a very confronting process. The aura is penetrating them. It's literally penetrating everything about their energy. So it can feel it, everyone will experience that in many different ways. Projection could come from it, but I'm telling you, in my experience, no, I more so experience people feeling that level and then just disappearing. They're like, oh no, 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 no. And they can just kind of back away slowly, if they're not ready to see themselves. So, like, for the projector, our strategy is waiting for the invitation, and that is exactly why it yes is for us, but honestly it's more for the other, because we are such a penetrative, confronting kind of energetic that it's just like not nice. Like, you can't go up to people being like, would you like to see every aspect of your
Yeah.
soul and your trauma? And because that's what they feel. Again, even
Uh-huh.
if this is, no words can be said, but that
Hmm.
is what they will feel. So certainly you add interactions or things with it, and whoa, things can go sideways, right? So the projector has to wait for the invitation, which is a grueling fucking journey.
I'm sure.
uh, and it, as much as so many people, that can sound so limiting, technically it is, but no, it's not. It's actually extremely expansive, because when you really are in a projector aura, inevitably all projectors are going to go around, because what a lot of times we do too is we will be doing to the other what we wish is happening for us, right? So
Uh-huh.
the many times most projectors are just going around inviting the hell out of everybody else, because we just so desperately want to be invited, and we're not getting invited to anything, and nobody sees us, and they, there's like all this
Mhm.
shit. But if we just wait and we can radically get into that experience, we really will not only be seen finally, but then when the invitations come, they will be correct. So that's this whole other part of it, is that you can accidentally, as a projector, also just, people can be confused by that energetic too. Like, it could equally, kind of attract a narcissist, because they're like, ooh, that feels good. I feel like you see all of me, and maybe they don't care that it's the bullshit too,
Yeah.
So
For
yeah.
sure.
So there's just a lot. But the projector, to me, of all the types, the projector, all they say it's about like think it's like 20 to 25% of the population. There is a type of projector within that called the mental projector that's only like 2 to 3%. Of course, again, I've known many. All of these like low percenters, they're like all up in my reality, which I love. Um, so of all of the types, as far as what the aura is doing, I would say the manifestor and projector are the most unique in what they're doing, and also the most completely polar opposite. Completely polar opposite. Couldn't be doing
Hmm.
more
Yeah,
different things.
because from what I understand, the projector, whether it's a situation or a person that they encounter, their aura is accepting all data without filters, but
Yes.
then projecting it outwards, or the data output is a summation of everything that they have absorbed.
Yes. Yes. So the energetic that will be felt by the other is, yes, that very penetrative thing happening where then, yes, basically our fields are like merging, but then
Hmm.
I'm then taking this and then showing you the things that you need to see about yourself, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And if a being is ready for that, again, that's beautiful. This is where the deep work can occur. But for the average person, they don't want
Hmm.
anything to do with that,
Yeah.
and for
I it
even our family many times, like that's been part of my experience. It's like
uh-huh.
it's just it's constant lessons and journey and all of
Uh-huh.
that stuff.
I imagine that for a projector, having a very strong solar plexus is absolutely needed, with
Yeah.
extra boundaries around the heart chakra, because
Yes.
it
Yeah.
feels like if you're constantly taking in energy from all around you and then having the data output, the sense of self, I mean, the self is accepting the data. So
Yes.
having a distinct sense of self apart from all the data that you're accepting is like crucial.
Yes. 100%. Yes. And also, where I do try to bring in some sovereignty to this field, of which there really isn't a lot, is we do have always sovereignty and more choice in then what it is we are intentionally focusing on. So this is where I I really do, I have to be a lot more careful with everything that I focus on,
Hmm.
because if I keep on in places or spaces or with people that are just fucked up or not aligned with me, I'm gonna be so bitter. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
so bitter and resentful, and I'm not a fun person to be around in that way. So it's like
Hmm.
a projector really does have to be, they do have to learn to be master um energy releasers. So they
Mm.
also in that just need to, they will all, most of them, whether they know it or not, they're attuning and working with energy constantly. But once they can start learning some really good practices to just release, and I mean do it daily, I
Hmm.
mean sometimes several times in the day, that's like pretty life-saving for projectors. But they are also, this is like a huge narrative disconnect that I don't like in the 3D human design stuff, is that the projectors are like kind of given this they're looked at like these kind of like peaceful, like Buddha, like just beings. And I'm like, no. Like I have continued to experience in not only my own self but in others, the projectors are like so fucking intense. They're so full of fire, because I mean look at, if you're absorbing everything around
Yeah.
you, I don't think you're going to be super peaceful. I mean you can be, but
If you're in very specific environments, I'm sure.
yes, yes, but
Yeah.
no, and honestly, it's like this very opposite dynamic. Like then you'll hear, I experience the manifester internally to be actually far more like that. Like if they're just in alignment and they're doing their thing, they're like I mean, look, their signature is peace. Like, but they literally are like some of the most peaceful beings. Like not much rattles them.
Hmm.
All I have to do is hear or see anything that I don't like, or that doesn't sit well with me. And I am like raring to go in a
Hmm.
monologue about it, that nobody
Hmm.
wants to hear. So,
I'm sure plenty want to hear.
yeah, maybe just not in my home, but yeah, some do. Some laugh.
So, what it sounds like is for a manifester, the number one thing they need to keep in check is what they say. For a projector, the number one thing they need to keep in check is the data from the external environment that they even let around them,
Yes.
physically or energetically.
Yes. Yep. And then just learning about energy, like massively learning about it in all different ways, and also allowing themselves to be obsessive about what they're called to, because that's a very unique and different thing with projectors too, is we're made to, like I said, normally be at one with some kind of systems. We're like truly made to be masters of some kind of system or systems, and we will have like an obsessive pull to it. And that is where we are in our highest alignment, is when we're just like studying. We're so
Mhm.
much more like these geek scientist, like, I don't know, fired up beings than some calm, I don't know, thing that I kind of hear spoken to in the normal human design stuff. Not calm, more like, I don't know, wise, all seeing. It's like, yes, we have that too, but it's not quite the vibe, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you don't want to, unless you're obviously a very advanced spiritual practitioner, you wouldn't want to be tapped into the all.
No.
Because if you're just the average person doing that, it can be very overwhelming. It kind of gives me the energy of people who call themselves empaths,
Mm-hmm.
but really just hyper vigilant in taking a lot of data in order to let their nervous system know that they're safe and alive, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yes. Which
Yeah.
is, yes. And that, yes, that's a rabbit hole too, because I just so believe that is all such a combination of so many things too. It really is,
Hmm.
and kind of everything that you mentioned. But you know what? When you said the all too, this is where my work is different too, in especially, let's say, the projector aura. In the true sky, I mean, tropical, I believe projectors are more attuned with and meant to be working with the basically 4D down levels within the human being themselves and everything around them, because that's like what they're attuned to. For a true sky projector, I think we're far more connected to the quantum. So of course we're attuned with those other layers too, but like my work is a really good example that it's like, I can do like a very normal energy healing for a person, but I it kind of distracts how much information and things I can read and see and do in the higher subtle layers
Yeah.
and in the quantum. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I feel like true sky projectors are more like frequency workers. Tropical projectors are more like energy workers.
Hmm. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and the last question I have for you about projectors is you mentioned with manifestors there's like a specific signature to know if they're unbalanced or out of alignment. What would that be for projector?
Oh, for projectors, it's that word I used earlier of being bitter.
Bitter.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So
So
our,
manifestors anger and
uh,
projector is bitter.
yep, yep.
Okay.
And that is so a very distinct experience and difference in my experience of when I was in my tropical, I was a generator.
Hmm.
Then when all of the shift occurred, and is definitely am in my true sky as a projector, I mean, it is a thing, just meaning like, and a thing that I had never had experience with like I do now. I mean, and you will just like taste it. I mean, it is
Hmm.
like truly just something I didn't experience being a generator. We'll get into that in a minute, but for the generators, they're they're not self, is just frustration. So a lot of their journey is a lot just more individual. And so it's like if shit isn't going right, you're not satisfied, then you're frustrated, whatever. But like, whew, with the projector, ooh, that bitterness is it's a real thing.
Realizing I'm a tropical projector
Uh,
makes a lot more sense
it,
after hearing some of
does
it
it?
described for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's this kind of, to me, bitterness is kind of like this seething resentment. It's like a
It is.
very deep,
Hmm.
and it normally, a little bit of a shift of a difference too that I sense between tropical projectors, well, not a little, a definite big one, is I think the tropical projector's journey with bitterness is also a lot more like individually and human based. So just like in their relationships and just feeling bitter because they're not seen and nobody can see them. And why is this person like that? And just stuff that's more relational. My bitterness now, doing more collective work it's like none of it is very personal, but it's like super macro and like
Collective
world directed.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna be seethingly resentful about things I can't change at all.
Well,
you
that's what
know
happens when you're working in those quantum realms, because when
yes.
you're getting the data from the larger soul pools, I guess we'll call them, the
Yeah.
larger aspect of consciousness, then yeah,
Yes.
when you're intaking that data, I'm sure the
Yes.
bitterness would come on a
Yes.
larger scale.
Yeah. Or and just back to the flowers. I mean, working with, if you're in the underworld, working with poison flowers, doing a lot of the real heavy, crazy work that you and I have done, it's like, oh, the things that I have seen and had to sit with and observe and feel, even if it isn't personal, in the
Yeah.
collective and human experience, it's like, oh, damn, how do you not have some seething resentment? And how do
Yeah.
you work through that? I mean, obviously I have, but it's yeah, it's hard. But even
Mm.
in the more personal ways, I will say too that it's like, that bitterness can just come. It can still come in personal ways when, like, if you're not getting invitations, and you just feel like whatever it is that you're working with, like this for me, for there was so many years and still that many people just, it's like they just don't see, they can't see what it is that I'm doing. And so I still will have moments where I'm like, ah, that sucks. This sucks.
Well,
Like,
we're definitely putting more eyes on you for sure, in a good
thank
way,
you.
the angelic kind, not
Yes.
the other
I'm
kind.
so
Um,
grateful. Very grateful.
and as you were saying that, I was seeing an energy signature that occurs, and you mentioned how narcissists are that narcissists are attracted to projectors quite often. And I was seeing, because narcissists, they lack a sense of self. So they have to basically feed on identity from others. And I was seeing that projectors get used as a battery through the solar plexus and heart. It's the over opened heart of
Mm-hmm.
the projector and then siphoned from the solar plexus. So
Yes.
all of the data from the narcissist is being absorbed by the projector through the heart,
Mm-hmm.
through quite often unconditional love, and then output energy from the solar plexus, which the narcissist then feeds on.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Which, and even I love the way you just described that, because even this can be true for even other types, that just because you were reminding me of just work, especially with women, that I have done for women that are more sensitive and who, yeah, they've got these massively open heart centers and they've got all these cords and things that they've,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, oh no, like, oh no, that this is a big part of my work, just with women too,
Hmm.
period, no matter our type, no matter what, is it's like, especially to do this work, if there are women awakening to their divine feminine and to being a leader in these ways too, it's like, you have got to protect that heart. Like, first,
Yeah.
yes, we have to clear it, but like a part of in my courses that I have is, then it's like, okay, but then like, what kind of barrier are you going to keep around your heart? And to me also, that is kind of a very higher heart thing that occurs too. Once then we can open that, that's kind of this field around that helps to protect it. But I mean, it's all this process, right? That
Mhm.
yeah, has been massively um fucked with
Yeah,
in so many
it's
ways,
true.
you
Yeah.
know?
And some people they don't recognize that this is stuff is going on. Narcissists may not even understand the own energetics of how they're hijacking other
Yeah.
people's
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
systems and so on.
Yeah. That's so true.
Probably not because they lack a lot of sense of self.
Oh yeah, exactly. How would they know? They're just
Uh-huh.
getting they're literally feeding off of you.
Yeah, they're
I
just getting
mean,
their meal.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so important to know because that's what I still see a lot in a lot of this kind of work is just and that it really is the journey that it is so hard to open because in this kind of a journey you're learning to open, yet what has been lacking in so many realms is that then that's all they've shown people how to do. I think those are fucked up teachers in realms that are
Hmm.
doing what you just described. That's why they don't also teach the massive protection that's needed and that no, you don't open to everyone, and the
Yeah,
other
absolutely not.
energetics, yeah, around like not only psychic defense but dark arts training. Like that's the main shit I do mainly in all of my work too, is just like teaching that there are always these different like signs and things that we will experience, like per se, like let's say when you're interacting with a being like that, and even if, or even some of what you described reminded me of interacting with someone with massive like entity attachments, like
Yes.
they could be a narcissist but also some people aren't. Some, then I've interacted with people that were actually the flip side, like they were that empath kind of person, but
Hmm.
their field was infested with
Yes.
entity attachments.
Yeah.
So then still those things can kind of, they'll be doing that same thing into our
Hmm.
field if we're not. And then that's an even trickier thing to understand because you're like, she's so nice, she's so loving, I don't understand, why is my whole reality and my world keep being fucked up, and not knowing, oh, huh, wow, you've been interacting with a person that has all of these entities that is literally fucking with you the whole time.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
this is,
I've definitely met plenty of those as well.
yeah,
Oh,
like it's serious and it's real. This shit is like real.
yeah,
It's
it
really
is.
real.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want me to go into the generators?
Yeah, that would be great. And also, I noticed that generator and manifesting generator are clumped as one. If you can kind of describe why that is and distinguish them as well.
Okay. Yeah. So they're definitely different within the inside of them a bit, what they're doing, but the aura is the same. So that's why they're
Mhm.
clumped the same, just because the types, again, are only describing the aura. And for both of them, their aura is doing the same thing. So it is still very absorbent. I want so many generators to realize this because it's like, I don't know, generators feel like they're just this like type that most of the world is, and it's not special and it's whatever. And it's like they don't want to be it. And it's like, dude, it's like literally what is making up this world. It's most of you. It's one of the most powerful types, actually, you can be. So, but you also can be deeply absorbent and feeling lots of things around you. But what their energy is doing here, where it says like attracts and responds, it is also literally like lighting up this world. This is why their strategy is to just follow their passion, be lit up as much as they can, do what they love, because every time that they're doing that, their aura is sending off the most beautiful, high vibe frequencies that everybody wants to be around. I mean, these are all the beings that can literally, if they're in their alignment, they walk in a room, they light that room up. Doesn't matter who they are, what they're doing. If they're doing what they love, you're gonna love to be around them. So the difference with the generator is just that they don't have the manifesting channel that a manifesting generator has. So, what I described with the manifester is that you'll have a channel from your throat to one of the motors. A manifesting generator will also have that either to one of the motor centers or directly to the sacral. So, there's a chance that then they just have both this ability to really manifest and generate energy. That's what else this whole the generator everything kind of means is I always relate it back to literally like an actual generator, meaning like when you wake up as a generator, you normally will feel a little bit more energized than some of the types. Again, I don't really almost like the word energy around this because that's another weird narrative in all the human design is it's like everyone thinks that the generators are just these like energizer bunnies and you just have endless energy. And it's like, sort of, but no, like all of us can be tired or
Yes.
not. And that's not what that means. You know, what it means is they do have a defined sacral that does have that ability, but you've got to wake up and you've got to feed that sacral what it wants. You have to give yourself the correct fuel so that that generator and that generating energy will keep generating, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
this is where I think all of that information has gotten confused too, because most of what the world is full of generators doing what they hate. No wonder they
Yeah.
look tired and nobody understands what these types actually are, because they are fucking tired. They're being slaves for other
Mm-hmm.
people. They're not
Yeah.
being lit up. They're not passionate about anything that they're actually wanting to do. And they're dying, you know, like they're
Yeah.
dying inside. And none of us want to be around them because they're frustrated and it's just annoying, you know? So the I also I was trying to describe this to my friend recently because she's a tropical projector, but that shifts into a manifesting generator. Um, that it is also like, I don't know if many will know the way that like old school engines work, but like when we used to have carburetors before we had fuel injectors, it's like if you start that engine and you give it too much gas or you switch that gas button on, with the carburetor it gets flooded. So I always refer that to like a generator doing shit they don't want to do, so then it like floods their engine and then they're
Mm-hmm.
actually like heavier and more bogged down than if they just did what they want to do, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
follow their joy, like from the littlest shit to the biggest, their little decisions to the absolute biggest. So um it's very simple to follow the generator design, but it is not easy. It's like so challenging, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's really hard to do. That's so hard to do, to just do everything that we want and love to do all the time in a world that
Yeah.
has conditioned us to be the exact opposite, you
And
know?
it's totally possible. And I'm a manifesting generator, and my life now is 100% filled with what I want to do every single day.
Mm,
And it's definitely such a shift. When I had a matrix job and, was enslaved and constantly letting other people dictate what I was doing in my personal life and things. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it was a living dystopian nightmare. Like, of
Yeah,
course, life felt like hell, and I was constantly drained and burnt out and things like that. But
yeah,
um, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, yeah, as I just do what I feel called to do each and every single day, what my sacral is telling me wants to be created every single day, I have so much energy. Like doing things gives me energy, not the other way around. Like even though I am channeling energy into things I'm doing, I feel full, when after I'm completed whatever
yeah,
it is that I'm doing.
yeah.
So,
That's
um,
exactly what you're describing is just, yes, that's everything.
So it's interesting because I noticed that on the generator chart, so the way the aura works, there's no arrows in or out. So is a generator more of a self-sustaining system,
Yeah,
kind of?
yes, a hundred
Okay, so
percent. But
it's almost like how some may like loop their like looping your own kundalini almost, like that
yeah,
kind of energy signature of just recycling. I don't want to even say recycle. Yeah, of just looping your own energy.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
And then
just
so
being able to be that own source of joy and passion. Yeah, it's like they have that, they do literally have it all within themselves. They just have to follow it, you know?
and so then a manifesting generator would be the self-containing system, but also be manifesting in the way of I'm staying in my own energy, kind of like everybody else, get the fuck out, and also needing to be careful about what they speak, like their sound curve.
Not, no, that is where this is a bit different in the
Okay.
manifest way than, let's say, the manifester.
Hmm.
So no, just meaning like, yes, they have equal ability to manifest through that throat center in that way. Um, but I don't believe, and I haven't felt like my son was a manifesting generator in his tropical. And I definitely, the only similarity to the manifester that I ever sensed was just when he was frustrated. I would see also that it was like a different, more explosive anger and frustration that came out that was very similar to the manifester. But that was really the only similarity I ever saw, just because the auras are so different. So it doesn't come with this also like, hey, I'm manifesting, leave me the fuck alone vibe. It's still a mostly generator vibe where it's like, I want to do shit I want to do, and I want you to be there with me, and that's cool, but don't if you don't want. Just a very like go with the flow kind of vibe, yet they just have greater power to speak what they want into existence. And also, they do have a little less of waiting time that they need to do, if that makes sense. Because
Hmm.
what's happening in the generator aura and with the interface with the reality as a generator is the universe and everything around us is going to be constantly sending any generator type like a buffet of things to respond to, right? So it's like, and this is also like directly based off of what you have been doing. This is the biggest protection for the generator is it's like, okay, keep doing miserable shit. Universe is going to think that's what you want and it's going to keep sending you that. When you
Hmm.
start really only saying yes to what you love, getting more intentional, really living by the law of attraction, that is for the generators for sure. Like you start doing that and you'll be given lots of different better higher things to respond to. The manifesting generator can just kind of respond quicker because it probably called that in number one. So it's less of like a check in with the sacral. Do I really want it? Do I not? It's like, yeah, you literally probably manifested this. Okay, do it. Yep, feels good. Do it. I won't get into totally because then this could go on for days, but there are other factors too that can kind of sway that decision of our authority. But that's like a whole other deeper talk of if like you're an emotional manifesting generator, it's like, yes, you still listen to that sacral, but then you're also having to like ride out this emotional wave in always your decision making process kind of stuff. So there's just lots of other things within it that I know maybe to the average person sounds like, whoa, that's complicated. What? But and it is, but
I don't think it sounds complicated at
okay,
all.
good.
I'm
Okay,
like right
good.
there with you. And for anyone watching, I know very, very little about human design. So I'm taking all this information in as almost a complete newbie.
Okay, good. So that's good then. If it's
Hmm.
not, because a lot of times it can be the system itself is overwhelming to people. And then it's like they're feeling like you're giving them all these rules and they're like, wait, what? Like it can almost feel limiting. What's crazy is that I believe what it is the epitome of that Albert Einstein quote that says, like, we go beyond our limits by accepting them. That's what human design is. It's like, yes, it is. It is showing us, yes, we do have some limits, but it's doing it so that we can get really expansive, actually,
Hmm.
And if you can understand it from that angle and also, work with it from that angle of like, okay, yeah, technically, yes, this is a little limiting to me. Do I want to believe I can actually do this different? Yes. But what else I love about it is it's meant to be used as an experiment, not just some chart that we make a Bible. So
Hmm.
it's like, go experiment with it.
Yeah.
I have. And that's why I'm bringing through so much of this work is because some of it, yeah, it can shift and change a little, but no, some of the stuff that, yeah, I wanted to be like, I'm going to expand this bitch. It's like, no, no, no. Like, nope, that doesn't work. Yep, that was right. Nope, so
Hmm.
it's, I think it's fun. I think it's really fun. And if you can do it from that angle too, just like
Hmm.
we're doing it as an experiment, let's fucking see what happens. But is there anything else you want to know about the
Yeah,
generators?
so you had mentioned that their red flag is frustration. Is
Mhm.
that the same for a manifesting generator as well?
Yes. So it will also be some of that anger, like I spoke
Okay.
to. That
Yeah.
is where that's kind of that only manifester thing is in the
Hmm.
not self. The manifesting generator can
Hmm.
get also this kind of combo of the anger and frustration. But then the signature of what the generator is to be in alignment and is wanting all the time is just satisfaction. So it's
Hmm.
that
Feeling
truly
satisfied.
that yeah can only come from just doing what you
Hmm.
love. And again, that can be from simple things, eating food that you love, smelling smells that you, I mean, it can
Hmm.
really be from very simple things to extremely complex for the
It
generators.
feels very Venusian of being in
Yeah.
that kind of Venus surrounded by everything you love, doing the things you love, the people you
Yes.
love,
Yeah.
sound, taste, texture, all that.
Yes.
Which
And
I want to rewind for a second on the projector. Did you mention what their signature was? I don't think I caught that.
I actually didn't. You're right.
Okay.
This is a very, I think, the most different and unique, again, of course, of all the signatures is its success. So I say different
Oh.
and unique because all the other types have an emotional feeling that is their
Mm-hmm.
signature. Projectors have success.
Wow.
So it's like, what? Like,
Ah,
again,
uh-huh.
that was a massive shift in change in my reality and in
Wow. Yeah.
my experience, right? That I never, ever, ever, ever needed, desired, felt that, yes, I want all the time now, that it's
Yeah.
just like
Wow.
you can't explain it. Now, I believe also that we're here as projectors to redefine success. I believe
Yes.
that's why that's that. So I definitely think that there's lots of nuance of feelings in that and what that means, of course.
Hmm.
But I do also believe we are here to get it, to like get
Yeah.
the real success and to therefore also really like really shift that paradigm in a really big
Hmm.
macro way too, just truly for what the frequency of success even means.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like what we were discussing earlier of, having clients that are doing a certain type of work and like the biggest feeling of success and satisfaction is when they don't need you anymore.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and that on pen and paper might not be successful to people because it's not, generating revenue consistently or something like that. But energetically it is so successful. Number one, because now they have accomplished the goal that they came there to do, but also now you have more space to help others and things of that nature.
Yep.
So it seems like the projector, with their ability to take in a bunch of data and then have that summation of data output, it really matters what they do with
Mm-hmm.
that data output that
Yes.
brings about their success.
Yes, very much so, which is, I think, also a huge misconception for projectors is that there's so much talk of like, oh, well, we don't have generating energy. We don't have manifesting energy. So then instead, what's occurring, I feel like, is all of these massively wise and all seeing projectors that are like masters in their field, like not doing anything with that information. And it's like, no, do stuff with it. That's why I have so many different funnels for my work.
Hmm.
It has it landed yet? No. Is it really generating or manifesting? No, it's not yet. But it assists me in my process and in also just this like absolute necessity of not even release so that we're not bitter, but like release of data. Like
Yeah.
I only recently was able to get a new iPad, but for literally like the last 3 years, I was working with an iPad that only had 32 gigabytes of storage. Like,
Oh,
can
wow.
you even fathom this in this day and age? Yes,
No.
and you have seen how much I create.
Hmm.
So I find it so funny because our physical reality is always giving us all this stuff to mirror back,
Hmm.
that even in itself, like working with stuff like that in your reality, I was like, oh my God, this is a total metaphor for like how fucking on it I have to be with how much I'm off putting as much as I am inputting. Like, because I was having to do that with my device, but it's legit what you have to do as a
Hmm.
projector too, especially if you do have a defined throat center, which I do now. Like, that's what my podcast is. You know what I mean? It's just like it also, for projectors, it gives people different pathways to find a projector that maybe isn't so confronting. Like, if
Hmm.
we're only in this one space doing this one thing with all this shit that we're bringing, it can be way too much for people, you know? So it kind of is good to just have different avenues of how we try to like get out what we're called to do or be in the world in that way. But then, there's definitely a big journey that comes with that, of then letting go that, yeah, guess what,
Yeah.
maybe not much comes of this for a while, and you got to be okay with that, sort of thing.
Well, for any manifestors out there, generating manifestors, say it with me. Amber's businesses are landing and they are generating and manifesting and
Thank you.
bringing everything
Yes.
for her highest good in.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And so for your, I guess, before we move on to the last one, which is reflector, I guess, what would you say the biggest difference between a generator and a manifesting generator is? Is it
um
just the ability to manifest, or is there something a little bit more prominent?
No, there is also this thing that you will hear again in the mainstream way spoken to, of basically manifesting generators being like these beings with ADHD. Again, I'm not
Hmm.
saying actual ADHD, I just mean in an energetic sense, to where like they do one thing, then they're on to another, then they go to another. And that's
Okay, yeah.
actually a very aligned process for them.
Oh, good to hear.
Yes, it is. It's
Good to
literally
hear.
how
Good.
you're made to work. Like, that's
Yeah.
actual. So that is a big difference, is that not only will that also show up, I think, just, interest wise too, like in your entire life. I think generators are a bit more focused. They'll normally have just more ability, not only to focus in on what they love, but just like not have that ability to move from thing to thing, nor the, not even ability, the desire. Like, once
Hmm.
they've got the thing that they really love, maybe if it's even 1 to 3 major things in their life, like, they're good with that. Like, they're a little bit just more of a simple energy in that way. Um, but yeah, the manifesting generator, it's definitely, and who almost all very famous people are all manifesting generators. I find that it's normally tropical, but I find that very interesting, because I think that it explains a lot, not only just strictly the energetics of that. Look at how most of those people are living. I mean, they're here, they're there, they're doing this, they're doing that,
Hmm.
you got to kind of be like superstar level of just being able to
Multitasking.
multitask. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only being able to, but enjoying it, like that being
Hmm.
part of who you are and how you do things.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
definitely
So
resonate with that so
you
much
do.
because I always have, a handful of projects that I'm working on, usually
Uh-huh.
between like 5 and 10
Uh-huh.
of a lot of different things. I mean, obviously having multiple businesses, it'll do that for you, but
Yeah.
that's good to hear because sometimes, you hear, oh, focus on one thing and da 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 da.
No.
But like for me, I'm just like, I feel like I would be bored very quickly. And also
Hmm.
being a Gemini rising, I like to do a lot of, multitasking. So
Yeah.
good. Good.
Yeah.
So good to hear that.
Yeah. That's exactly how you should be doing everything. Yes.
Good,
We
good,
all of
good. I'm
that.
glad to get that clarification that
Yes.
I'm in that essence.
Yes.
Um, And actually, I guess I do have one more question before we move on to the last one is
Yeah.
the percentages. So for you said most people are generators. Do you have the percentages of generators and manifesting generators?
Yeah, I don't, I should have looked it up exact for the ratio between the two, but it's very similar. I want to say it's like, 20 something, 30 something of each of them. They're very similar with I think that there's a little more generators than there is manifesting generators, but it's very close. And then like together, just the generator types all together make about like 60
Wow.
something percent
Okay.
of the
Yeah.
population. Yeah. So it's most of the world. This is why too, like this system has come online so much, and it is coming online more collectively too,
Mhm.
is not only to just assist all of the generator types in finally just giving permission to like be true to yourself in this way that really explains it, but for the other types that we have here that are called the non-sacral types, because we really don't fit in what really is a more just generator made and run world. Like we really don't. And so like what can occur a lot of the times to us is people just giving us that generator advice where it's like just you're
Yeah.
overcomplicating it. Just go do what you love,
Uh-huh.
And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't work
It
for
doesn't work for everyone, but it
me.
seems to
Yeah.
work for, 60% of the population, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it technically does. Here's what I love about all of these too is that each of the types still has wisdom and beautiful shit to teach the other. So like no matter the type you are, can we all benefit from doing what we love? Hell yes, we can. It just may not make the world be our oyster, but it can assist us all for sure. Yes.
Okay, and then so for the last one, which is the reflector.
Yes, this is the unicorn of the types. They are only
So
1%,
wow. Okay.
1%. And in the chart, what it means is they have all open centers. So in our chart, in the actual body graph, some of the centers will be colored in, some will be open, which is like white. For a reflector, none of them are defined. They have
Hmm.
all open centers. And then but where their aura, what their type is actually doing is what their aura is doing is it's being very much like what they're called. It's being like a mirror. So it
Mm,
really allows them to just kind of like take life in that way, like they're a
mm,
mirror. So it reminds me of like an energetic kind of like trying on different outfits vibe. So like they're not like absorbing like a projector, but they're to me they're almost this really crazy cool hybrid of like honestly like all the types, because it's like they can sample and be whatever they want. Their aura is actually very protective. It's not as protective as the manifester, but it's close to it. It's like in the human design information it's called like Teflon, like, and it very
mm,
much is like they have to become pretty sovereign. Like if they're letting stuff in, it's because something is awry. Like that's
mm.
not what their energy is supposed to be doing, like so even though you can look at the chart and see all the centers open and be like, oh my God, like they're absorbing everything. It's like, yes and no, but their aura is very, very much protecting them from that. And also, what's occurring is as the reflector, what's very different in them too is all the other types are considered solar attuned types. The reflector is considered lunar. So
Hmm.
not only are they more attuned to just lunar codes, period, and the lunar cycle, but they're then they are then actually getting some personal definition from each 28-day, their own unique 28-day lunar cycle. So when
Hmm.
the moon is going around all of the different, signs, they're getting some definition with different channels and things that get activated in that way. So the more that they can sink in with that, this is why like their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. So a lot of people want
Interesting.
to relate this to like the projector waiting and stuff like that. It's really not that. Like the more that I have like been sinking in with this type and done all kinds of observing. I've just now met a true sky reflector, which is very cool. So that will help inform some more things for me in this way too. But they they really are only waiting that lunar cycle so that they are just very attuned with their cycle in that way, meaning they'll know, okay, this day, that day, oh yeah, I'm getting this channel and that. I'm actually like a manifesting generator this day. This is how I'm going to act and do. You see what I'm saying? So it's more
Yeah.
of like a wait to know how to respond rather than just like waiting in the ethers like a projector. Like, well, hope somebody ever invites me. Guess I'll find out. You know, it's not that. It's a totally different kind of a wait. It's just a waiting to be what they want to be, because they're also a lot more attuned in different ways with the cosmos than some of the other types too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that like the lines in and lines out are very different. Some of them are squiggly, some of them are looped.
Yes. Yes, I just did that because I feel like what I was trying to convey is bringing in, showing that the more what do you call that, like the kind of dotted arrows,
Like the
that
energy
yes,
input.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
like, yes, they're like taking it in, but again, I did like the dotted arrow because it's
Mhm.
like not fully in. It's like just kind of surface level. Like again, like think of like looking in a mirror. Like you tried on an
Uh-huh.
outfit. What do I look like today? But
Hmm.
not like, oh, this is who I am on the inside, you know? Like it's
Gotcha.
just like, but then and then the outer, I just like I showed that in colorful because they also remind me too of like they can have this prismatic kind of factor to them, just like a mirror in the sun. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Or a
Yeah.
crystal in the sun. So it's like also what they are showing another person, it is them, but it's definitely not in the deep projector way. What they're also showing and always reflecting again is still kind of this outer reflection. So what I link this into too is they're very connected to the collective, like very connected to it. So a big thing that a reflector needs to understand is that when they're tuning into anything, the information that they are being given and shown is what is the collective's reaction to this thing. So sometimes I've seen people basically, like, let's say a leader or a teacher is speaking something, but then the whole group is having this big reaction. Maybe the teacher isn't fucked up, but like a reflector could be thinking that they are, because of all of the chaos of energy that they're seeing the collective do from that thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they kind of remind me of a satellite too. So they're very like, what they're going to pick up, the whatever it is that they're just kind of like looking at. It's not even like about focus. So what's the most important for them too is the environment, and like a literal environment, online, what in all ways that that can mean for them, because they're constantly reflecting whatever environment they are in or interacting in. So these days especially,
So it's
that
kind
could
of
be,
like data input equals data output. So it's kind of
yeah,
similar to a projector, but there's no summation of data or analysis. It's just like raw
right,
data in, raw data out.
right, because here's the um what's the word, like assembly line of why these types are working the way they are, because it's like the manifester is bringing in information to us like brand new codes, something brand new in whatever that means, system inventions, I don't know.
Mhm.
Projectors are then taking that information, guiding it. So we're just like catching it, like okay, and then we can see how does this energy want and need to be guided. Then the generators, manifesting generators, they take all that, they do stuff with it. They go do the things with the system or things that we created. And then the reflector is like, look, guys, this is how y'all are doing.
Hmm.
Like just showing us the whole process, right? So this is what is happening collectively too. It's just always the reflector is literally like looking in a mirror, but a far bigger collective view of that, you know? So like sometimes if it is on an individual basis, I said to someone the other day that it feels like too then sometimes what they're reflecting is also like what the other person's collective narratives are. Does that make sense? Like not
Yeah.
so much like inner working parts of their soul and their being and their trauma, just like no, like I can see and sense that like this paradigm, that this collective, this field is affecting
Hmm.
you kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like kind of like this is the energy you're giving off, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore I'm giving you that same energy back. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the root cause of it, it doesn't matter your intention.
Yep.
It's this is the surface level of things, and this is the repercussion of that surface level energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so, what is the red flag for this
Theirs
type?
is disappointment. So,
Disappointment.
yeah. And
Wow.
then theirs is very unique too in the way that
Mm,
their signature is
mm.
surprise. So, see, they're,
Oh,
yeah. So they're meant to
okay.
be, I think that they're meant to
Mm,
be our greatest teachers
mm,
of flow and then of just
mhm,
being one with life, a
mhm,
very much embodying a childlike kind of innocence in that way, being able
mhm,
to interact with life like that. But then that's why they're that not self or unaligned theme is disappointment, you know, because it's like they they can um they kind of are always searching for that thing, like I said, the other
mhm,
types where they want to be surprised, you know? And I mean,
mhm.
normally surprise is like some hope and some positivity, you know?
Yeah.
But
It,
yeah,
it's
they,
also like getting out of the ordinary, right? It's not doing the same thing, expecting a different result. That's the
yeah.
only way that you'll get a surprise. Because I'm thinking of like disappointment in terms of the energetics of it, because it seems like for reflectors, what you see is what you get, and not
Mm-hmm.
just for that person individually, but for what they're observing in the other. So if
Yes.
they are seeing something and expecting something different,
Yes.
other than what is actually happening, especially because now they're reflecting the same energy that they're perceiving. Well, that's insanity to think that you'll end up with a surprise, you know? So
Yes.
it seems like taking things at face value and then understanding, okay, well, the only way I'm ever going to be surprised is if I find something that's different at face value.
Yes. Yes. Or just have no expectations. I think that's a
Mm,
lot of their challenge and journey too, is and also even for themselves, because I also feel this is where they kind of a lot remind me of like an inner manifesting generator energy, because they will have lots of if they're searching for surprise and then they really are feeling that again, like you said, that would mean like you're living a pretty colorful different kind of life. You're not living some like scheduled regimented life. So also what they can deeply need and feel desire for is like big huge pivot changes. So like maybe they start a business or they do a thing and then like a year later they're like, nope, I don't want to do this. And they want to do something totally different. They have to
mhm,
follow that. Like that's actually very aligned for them to do. And it will be, you know, a weird part of their continued experience. I think that's why I think that they're here to teach us about fluidity and flow and how to really just
mhm,
go with the flow, you know, like
mhm.
think about too, like that's what, so they're lunar coded beings. Well, that's
Yeah.
what the moon does to our waters, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it has this very, you know, just kind of, it sucks because it is a little hard when you're describing these things to not just think of like, you know, the crystal and rainbow child that's just like kind of the way I said with the projector gets this like, oh, I'm Buddha and I see all the things. And it's like, No, I definitely don't see them as that, but I do think kind of like the core of who they are is a bit like that. And I think that if they can kind of go about their life in that way, it will flow a lot better for them.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I hope all the reflectors out there get that message
Yeah.
because, yeah, that does seem difficult because it really is consistently based on the environment and others. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, it feels like similar to a projector, but the projector has the ability to change what's going outwards, whereas the reflector doesn't.
Yes, a lot more, but also what's happening too is here's the difference of like a reflector and a projector in a group setting is the projector put us in a group, we're gonna hone in on the shitty person that's there. like like no, like whatever the lowest energy is that's calling for extraction, that's
Mm,
what the projector energetic is just like made to do. Again, remember, like this isn't the mind, this isn't like this is just the
mhm,
aura, it's what it's doing. But for a reflector, that's it's not, it's they're the satellite, and they're like, oh yeah, this whole group feels good. This place feels good. I think, like they're
mhm,
really more feeling into the collective group energy of what's there. The projector definitely can, but then it's not what its focus is. It's like, get rid of the problem,
mhm.
like
Yeah.
extract,
Uh-huh.
different.
I love that. And they both have a very different job, although I see why reflectors are such a small population.
Yes,
Yeah.
so small.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, very, very, very small. I do have a theory and a hope that maybe in True Sky we get like maybe we could get like 2% of reflectors. That would be
Hmm.
nice. But
Yeah. I
see.
mean, because right now, definitely society needs a mirror held up to it. I mean, I think it
Oh,
already has it, but
yeah.
to have on more of the microcosmic scale,
Yeah.
individuals doing that can definitely be helpful because,
Yeah.
especially for those who can't self-reflect, need some reflectors in their life.
Yes. Yes. Which honestly can very much be the manifester, but don't go try to tell them that they need to because they will definitely not do that. Just to spite you.
Uh-huh. So we have some of the True Sky Human Design charts that I'm going to pull up.
Yeah.
And then, so this is an example of what these charts are that Amber has been speaking on. And so these show the examples that you provided
Mhm.
show the I Ching and the gene keys in this as well, correct?
Yeah, so all of the numbers that you'll see around here,
Mhm.
that's what can be called gates in human design. It is also the same number that is will be called a gene key in the gene keys work and system, and then it is also the same number of that code in the I Ching. Now, what I was speaking to earlier is above that you'll see those weird symbols with the lines. Those are the actual hexagrams of the I Ching. Okay. So those are like the actual like building block coding of of our genetic codes and of all of
These
our
little guys,
64
right?
codons. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And now where these charts are a little different too is you can see where like I've kind of changed, like you can see where I've colored in the borders of all of these zodiac signs
Hmm.
on the wheel around it because
Hmm.
genetic matrix is the only um company out here that and it's amazing. I love them for all things human design in this way, but I don't, from all of my research, their borders of the signs weren't truest to True Sky to me. So I have it looking like this so that you can see that even in their True Sky mapping the zodiac signs were a little bit off. So technically then that
Yes.
shifted and changed where some of these gene keys, what sign they're actually in,
Yes. That's why on the True Sky Crew, we take into consideration the void spaces between constellations and then also some areas where it's a blend of the two.
Yes.
Because, yeah, no calculator has it perfect yet. The only thing
No.
you can do is actually look at the sky and then sort of cross-reference it with the map. And that's actually one of the things that drew me to your services is when I noticed that you were doing this in your videos,
Hmm.
just seeing it, it tells me like, I know exactly what that means, and she's
Yes.
on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because also people
Uh-huh.
just they don't understand things better until they can see it too. And then yeah, you
Yeah.
have to see it. Like until you
Hmm.
actually see this stuff, I can be telling someone all day the sun is here, this is there, but it's helpful. A different thing you will see in these charts too that's definitely different for the true sky human design in the way that I use it is
Hmm.
only for women who legit are shifting into or have shifted into their true sky design. I do include Black Moon Lilith and Chiron to be a working part of the body graph. Now, it's weird because you can see that in this mandala, Black Moon Lilith and Chiron are marked there, like in the circle, but in the body graph still itself, they don't include it. So in our
Hmm.
natal chart and in transit charts, they don't count it. Well, I do because of course it counts and matters.
Yeah.
Now, in the natal chart way and in a woman's journey, I definitely feel and know that the Chiron and Black Moon Lilith are journeys in themselves. So
Absolutely.
I don't bring that into their tropical experience because I don't believe it's a part of it, but it is a big activation code and a big cool thing to bring into their chart because I don't necessarily change the type for them. But it definitely does. It can define other centers that you wouldn't have defined. And it can change your chart in different ways. So like right here, you'll see like I have this colored in with the throat center and the spleen because I am the one who edited this chart and showed that yes, Black Moon Lilith is actually creating a channel right here with the 16, which is where the sun and Jupiter are right now. So I always include that in this will be on my story every day for True Sky Human Design.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, just in the name of too, just showing people like, look, this is where the
Hmm.
stuff is and this is what's going
Exactly.
on.
Yeah, and that's great that you do that with Black Moon Lilith because I imagine, especially with reflectors, like that is
Mm-hmm.
such an essential key component to
Mm-hmm.
understanding themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but women, all of us, and
Hmm.
divine
Oh,
feminines right
definitely.
now. I mean,
Definitely.
all of us, we have got to know where is our Black Moon Lilith, and
Hmm.
then in the richness, this is what I love is that if anyone does hear this information or just even sees this chart and does feel that initial like overwhelm of like, whoa, what the hell does all of this mean? What I'm trying to bring more to life is just less of that overwhelm and showing you this deep richness you can gain from going even deeper. Like, yes, we can gain so much from knowing, like, okay, maybe our Black Moon Lilith is in Virgo or is in Leo, but when then you can find and have different information from the I Ching that gives you this extremely beautifully rich and deep, more information of that genetic code that placement is in, it's crazy. Like it brings in this depth and richness to your experience that you just can't imagine until you start experiencing it.
Exactly. That's how I feel about the level of chart hacking that I do when I'm able to share information about specific stars, not just what
Yeah.
sign and house it is, but what actual star is being activated, what is it aligned with, and those
Mm-hmm.
data pieces are just so much more in depth
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
it comes to their energy. You can read about sign and house anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're getting into the actual details, again, the study of the stars, it really, really does change things. And that's what really attracted me about this as well, is the level of detail of the chart segmentation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lover of data, so when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I know this is
you're
rich."
you're a projector at heart. You'll always
Yeah.
have that inside you. That's what I like to tell all of the projectors too, that we're tropical projectors. Like my in real life friend who is, I think she really is already in her manifesting generator design. This is what we've been like going back and forth with unpacking. But I'm like, she was a little bit hesitant of like, oh, like, am I gonna like lose this like projector wisdom that I have? And I'm like, no, like when you change, do you lose everything about who you had been? No, like yes,
Right.
you lose the shit that is not aligned for you, that you don't want anymore or whatever. But no, any projector that's been a projector their whole life, okay, yes, they technically won't be that anymore. But all that means is you won't have this massively confronting aura anymore. That's a gift, actually. So
Yeah.
you're still going to have all of that wisdom and a lot of different things that made you who you were in those ways about you.
Hmm.
It definitely doesn't mean. I will say this too. I meant to say this about the aura types is a big, huge thing that I am super black and white about that everybody else wants to try to do too is combine their types. And I'm like, no, that
Yeah.
is not how this works. Like
Yeah.
it is continued to show me, no, this is not how this works. There are lots of things within the chart itself that yes, combine, like talk about all these.
Like manifesting generator, for example.
Yeah,
That's kind of a combination of two,
yes,
even though it's its own
definitely.
type.
Yes, but even like for you, there's all of the you someone who has built out their light body and then is in their true sky. I believe we also then are basically we're just doubling all of these gene keys that we have. So it's
Mm.
not like you lose all your gene keys, you're gaining more. And also, just so everyone knows, people don't know this too, we all have all 64 of these genetic codes. This is the
Right.
base coding for all human beings. So
Exactly. Yeah.
all that human design is showing us is which ones are more prominent,
Right.
and
Yes.
again in direct relation to so much of this stuff is less of, it's not about who I am, it's what are you here to do? It's about your
Yeah.
dharma and it's about your destiny, and that's
Exactly.
what this stuff is trying to inform for you. It's
Yeah, and also how we do use these tools to make it easier, to get the
exactly,
results
yes,
that you want. I don't want to say faster, but kind of when we consider just time in general, how to do it in a certain amount of time to where
yeah,
you feel good and
yeah,
happy and fulfilled
yeah.
and surprised, maybe.
Yes, yes,
Like, yeah,
exactly,
to
yes,
subvert the anger and bitterness and frustration and
yeah,
um, disappointment, right? Yeah.
yes,
So the whole
yes,
point is to
all of
use
it,
these things so we can maximize our human experience.
yes,
I find the exact same thing with astrology. It's again, like, I mean, understanding the sense of self, it is something that is necessary during this lifetime because you
yes,
need to distinguish your sense of self from the other. And
other,
that's
right,
something that stuck with me in your podcast episode was, we all are one, but we're not meant
hmm,
to be the same one. And that
exactly,
is such a great point
hmm,
of, the kind of even the energetic shift of kind of the Pisces I am of like the I
hmm,
am totality Godhead to the Aries I am of the individualistic self. And I
yeah,
think it's such an important aspect to grasp because knowing yourself just helps you navigate through life easier.
hmm,
But
yeah,
knowing yourself isn't I mean, I guess it is the ultimate goal because once you know yourself, then you can do all these things.
hmm.
But yeah, we have so many missions and fulfillments that well, need to be achieved. Well, need to be
One.
achieved in order to have soul fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they want to be. Yeah. And
Yes.
that's also the basis and foundation and intention of all of the human design system from the very beginning, from the man who channeled and created it, is it's a system of the science of differentiation. So it's showing us how we are energetically different so that we can individuate, and
Yes.
that is how we are actually going to begin to create more collective unity. And what we've been doing is the complete opposite. Everybody's been like, it's like they want all of this individuality because of all of this weird, like, expected collective sameness. When it's like, no, we're doing this
Yeah.
backwards. So
Hmm.
it's like this whole system itself is, I think, just a huge collective activation in that way, too, of being like, no, we're going we're going deep down into each individual. Let's get all so uniquely into our own essence that then that is how we begin to create some unity. Because once I know me, you know you, we can see and be with one another in different, better ways. And that will just begin collectively rippling, you know?
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's so important because the self-actualization is part of the, yeah, microcosmic aspect of the macrocosmic humanity functioning the way it needs to, the organic system on this planet functioning the way that it needs to.
Yes, yes. And it's a huge, there is a thing, I won't go into it because it would take a long time too, but there's a thing in the human design cosmology that also we're about to shift into of leaving this 400-year cycle of the cross of planning and
Mm.
then going into what's called the new cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is also basically exactly what I just described, where it's going to be this new age of a collective frequency much different than what we've known, where before it was very tribal and very like giving away our power to all of these systems and organizations and things. And then now it's going to be deeply internal, you know, which is going to at first seem selfish because this is how the pendulum swings, you know, but that's what's going to need to occur to get everyone just to learn and begin
Yes.
to individuate again.
Yeah, sacred selfishness,
Yes.
which is embodied through the Aries sign of you
Mm-hmm.
have to put yourself first. That is just how it is.
Yep, exactly.
That's the only energetic signature of being able to truly serve others from a place
Yep,
of wholeness.
exactly. Yep.
And so I recognize on the slide I accidentally put the today's
Oh,
mandala
that's
on there
good.
twice.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's okay.
but I'd like to focus on the new moon one for tomorrow, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So so just kind of like as an example of what people can expect from when they are looking at a chart like this. Um, so first off, looking at the center aspect of this.
Mhm.
So it what type would the new moon be?
The new moon would be a projector.
A projector.
Yep, a spinning
And
projector.
what I guess what in the chart shows you that it's a projector?
Well, technically not. This is just deep internal workings of it, but I
Oh,
mean, like it's a little hard to explain, but only because the there's no sacral defined, which is that middle one outlined in orange.
yes.
Um, and then because the throat is not connected to what's considered a motor, it's only connected to the spleen, then they would have to be a projector because the only other difference would be you could see a similar looking chart. But if the throat was connected to that little green triangle on the right, that's considered a motor center. That's the will center. So then that would make them actually a manifester. So, and then any chart that you see, like I said, that has the sacral defined, so that orange one again, yep, then that's going to be some kind of a generator. Again, if they have, it's not always so clear cut as literally being able to see that there's a channel going from the throat into a
Mhm.
motor. Sometimes it's a stream line of energy that's leading from the throat into the motor, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That could make someone a manifesting generator. But either way, there would be some, if you see that orange circle defined, you're some kind of a generator.
Gotcha.
And then reflectors, none of these will be defined. You'll have all open white boxes. And then, yeah, the projector will just always be no sacral and then no throat to an actual motor, or else then they would be a manifester.
Gotcha. So the type is basically it's based on the energetic channels of the center area.
Yes. And then
Okay.
what makes us have definition or not is like what you see here, right? So if there's only certain, of these gene keys or gates that connect with the other. So when two of them connect from two planets being in both of those gates or gene keys, of which create a channel, when that channel is created, then in each of those other centers, we get definition. So that's where then the centers get colored in, because there is this channel of energy there. And then what that means for the person too is that you have constant energy or constant access to that particular energetic. Okay. So
Mhm.
there's lots of other things you'll see in the chart, like this one, where those are called hanging gates, where there's like a half line, but then it isn't meeting the other side. And then there is no colored in center. But then what that could mean in our chart is, due to cosmic transits, due to connections with another, especially if it's like a close connection, like a marriage, your children, like you can create definition with connections with other people
Mm.
and things like that in those ways. So again, it's not technically like yours. It does feel a little bit different. It's more subtle, and definitely for like beginners beginning in this information, I don't really
Mm-hmm.
suggest bringing all of that into your experience yet, until you've just gotten really good in the experiment of your own design. But it's still cool to see, and that you definitely do have access to a big reason why I share the True Sky information every day, is because I think this is a huge reason why people are being still stunted and halted in their tropical charts, because they're following tropical transits, which is not what's actually
Mm-hmm.
happening. So in order for them to up level and actually be activated into their True Sky chart, they've got to start tuning in to what the true gene key and planetary transits of all of this stuff actually is.
Absolutely. I just had deja vu too, which is a
Oh,
beautiful experience.
yeah.
So, a couple questions here. So, I noticed that the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune are highlighted yellow. Does that mean that it's influencing the solar plexus?
No, this is actually kind of a weird factor, that it's like it will show this even based off of what the design is doing. I know this isn't going to make much sense, but like there's certain ways that you can choose to look at these maps, and when it's in regards to what's just happening transit wise, I'm only ever pulling up the actual what's actually happening. So like if we're going to relate it to the human design chart, what that would be considered called is the our personality gates and lines. Because see, in our natal human design chart, it's showing us where the planets actually are, but then it's also showing us this whole other unconscious gates and lines that are from 3 months before we were born. Okay, so
Mm.
just some of the way that these charting systems work is it's like showing you these things are highlighted because of those actual unconscious factors, of which this chart isn't showing. It's kind
Okay.
of hard to explain. Sorry.
So what's the difference between what's highlighted in yellow and what's highlighted in red? And I guess, well, if you could answer that first and then answer it in terms of like the new moon, like what's the energy of the new moon based on these?
Well, these are this also based off of the way that I have the chart, where I have it tuned into the colors of the chakras. So these are just then the color of the relating center that those are actually in. So like where Pluto is, that's in the root center. And then both these others are both in the emotional or the spleen. Um,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's all that
So
that's
this
referring
isn't this
to.
isn't associated with the solar plexus. It's associated with the spleen right here.
Now, yes, and
Okay.
that is a whole other rabbit hole too, that we would like have to
Interesting.
do a whole another
Wow.
episode about, is the solar
And
plexus thing. Yeah, because I have a whole kind of different spin-off theory of that
mm,
as well. Where
uh,
technically they call that center that we're about to point to,
this
that's
one?
called, no, the other one on the
Okay,
right.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah, they call that the solar plexus center, but it's also
Interesting.
called the emotional center. They also in human design call
Hmm.
it that. I don't, my view of this is that basically our G center, which is the one right in the middle underneath our throat, I feel that very much like the solar plexus. And
Mm.
then what I feel like the solar plexus mutation is that then both of the yellow triangles we were just talking about, the emotional and the spleen, are like a very enmeshed working part of that solar plexus
Hmm.
now. And then I feel the will center to be more like the heart center. So again, that's just my different kind of spin-off and interpretation of some of the basic,
Hmm.
more original human design teachings. But
That's very interesting. I mean, intuitively, when I look at a chart like this, I see crown, third eye, throat, heart, like masculine and feminine solar plexus. It
mm-hmm.
seems like heart to solar plexus channel, sacral and root.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and that's, I mean, yes, that's
that's very
basically
interesting.
very, yeah, very true. Yes, yes. I just feel it a little bit differently in the truly strictly solar plexus human design way. But yeah,
Mhm.
I feel you on that too.
I mean, I'm obviously I don't know human design, just like looking at it, that's what I would read knowing absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so Pluto being in the root. So for the new moon, basically transformation is at the root of the day.
yes. Wait. What'd you say? Transformation is at the
Or
root?
I guess however you would read Pluto, like Pluto as the transformer or the catalyst of evolution is in the root chakra of the day of the new moon.
Oh, yes, yes. And
Okay.
but because Pluto does move so slowly, it
Yes.
has been
It's
in
been there.
58, yes,
Yeah,
for a long time, and it's going to
definitely.
still be. I
Uh-huh.
think I just looked the other day, and I mean, it's well into next year that it's still going to be in this 58. So yeah, it's been there quite a while and still will be.
And so I guess if to do a little brief assessment of the new moon tomorrow, how I guess we'll do what you highlighted at the top, channel 1648
Mhm.
of the Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Black Moon, Lilith. How would you interpret that channel?
Yeah, that particular channel, again, we have been having access to, but mostly, not mostly, only because it's been Jupiter and Black Moon Lilith that has been doing that. So, like, I'll give you a little bit of a wind up too, is like, I feel like all of the divine feminines have been being massively expanded leading up to this, but like also majorly being brought into different dives and depths of darkness in that, because of course Black Moon Lilith is not just divine feminine, but it's an extremely dark goddess divine feminine kind of code. So what I feel this just assisting all with in this time is also, it was funny because I meant to say this whenever we were first beginning this, when you were talking about Gemini, because you were using that as an example of like, just people not understanding that energy in the tropical way. I'm feeling actually like a huge like call of exaltation from the Gemini sign itself in this new moon. That's like, I am not what you guys think, like in a very big way. So therefore, I'm feeling, in particular, many divine feminines who have important Gemini placements, or a lot of them. I'm feeling like they're going to feel even more expansion in this time. But then overall, I'm just feeling huge, massive gifts, and even just if not the gifts themselves coming online through this particular energy for many divine feminines, at least them beginning to see and deeply understand and understand what their gifts are, even if they're not like blasting out or coming to life in that way yet, if that makes sense. Because the
Hmm.
1648 channel too is, it's called the channel of talent. So, and what's a very crazy thing about the 16 just alone is, once you're in the gift level, meaning that's like the gene keys language, the gene key shows us what's the shadow level, gift, and city of all of these different gene keys. So once you're in that frequency of the gift level, you can tap into at will all of the gift levels of all 64 gene keys and codes. So
Wow. So if you just
yeah,
focus on one individual and master it to access those gifts, you can access the entirety of all the gifts.
basically. But
Wow.
here's the real thing that's so different about all of this work with the gene keys is like, it it's so weird because like you said, focus, but And that is true. And this is like why I'm doing this work, because we know how anything quantum works and how physics works. I mean, it's like, well, if I'm not seeing it, it's not there. And then if I do, it is, it's all of this kind of an energy. But what is different and odd about a lot of these genetic codes is there is a lot of non-choice in that too, weirdly, because it's like some people just don't have certain codes for some of these things. So they could maybe try and focus as long as they wanted to all day long on whatever the gift of is 16. But if they're not meant to have that, they won't, kind of thing, if that makes sense, which is where the gene keys work comes in and is beautiful too, because what a lot of it is helping us to do is also just get out of the mind energy with all of this work too. But it's weird and hard to explain in that way, because of course we do have to have some mind energy with this. Like, I don't agree with where the new age has gone in this way, where it's just like, oh yeah, just if you just sit and meditate all day every day, then probably, everything will work out fine. It's like, yeah, that is true too. But I like to bring in like a lot of this stuff, the posts that you'll see, a lot of this very hard to only focus on with the brain kind of information to help people integrate into these codes, which is like what I've been shifting into lately, is like Sanskrit and just even the posts themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, see what this I Ching is. This is where the sun is. Go sit in the sun that day, draw this Sanskrit from the post that I made, say the word, I don't know, take a flower essence, and let's see if this frequency rises within you, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a lot more like that kind of a process, because there is a lot of like surrendering into it, and they're all deep journeys. It's not like I
Mm-hmm.
can just go and like study gene key 16 and then like it's such a journey. It's so deep, so deep.
I imagine that you'd have to embody it properly in order to do that. Embodiment of anything is difficult, but especially with so many, I imagine
Well,
it's
yes.
a deeper task.
Yeah, well, and I do have this, and I have this channel like in my chart. So especially this one, I know very well, but also what is so interesting, challenging, beautiful, all the things too with these is that literally the way to out of the shadow of all of these codes is through it, and it is
Yeah.
massively through it. So
Hmm.
some of them are not as hard to traverse, just depends on what the code is. But oh man, a lot of them are so hard to traverse, because the things that we will be made to sit in, and then the things that our reality will reflect to help us work through it, it's just deep, deep work, very
Hmm.
deep.
And so what is the energetics of 16, of Gene Key 16, or what else are they called other than Gene Key?
The hexagrams and the I Ching,
Hexagrams
yep, or
of
the gates.
16. Oh,
Yep,
gate, yeah.
yeah.
So gate 16, what is the energy of that gate?
Yeah, it's known as in the I Ching enthusiasm. But then actually let me double check the actual shadow gift and city from the gene keys, just so that I don't say it wrong. Okay, but in the gene keys, the shadow is indifference, the gift is
Mm.
versatility, and then the city is mastery.
Ah.
So yeah, it's a very it this code I find to be quite what's the word? Almost like different isn't a good enough word. Just contrasting almost to what the I Ching explains it to be,
Hmm.
which normally doesn't occur. Normally there's like quite a deep and,
Hmm.
intimate vibe going on between them both. But I find like a lot of the work I just recently made around the new moon and around these codes is like the core of it is just like letting ourselves be a part of life, and be enthusiastic about it, and just saying yes to life, whatever that means. And then, I mean, think about that. People who
Hmm.
are in that energy, I mean, inevitably, then a lot of versatility is going to come, because if you're really, saying yes to all the invitations, even if maybe they're fucked up, I mean, you do learn some shit.
Yeah.
So,
And
um,
even that juxtaposition of how you mentioned that gene key or gate 16, the I Ching and the gate don't harmonize like the rest of them do. That seems very Gemini to me, is like,
yeah.
yeah, here's this and this.
Yes, very, very much. And it is a very aligned energy to like be the very actual first one in Gemini to me too. That is
Mhm.
like, yeah, let's get this shit. And then as we get into Gemini, it's like, oh yeah, then there's the first stop codon that we come to, the 12, that's going to be like, nope, all progress is halted. Like, you must surrender now to fall into the ring of secrets. And it's like, yeah, very, very diverse energies there.
And so with the sun, moon, obviously because it's a new moon, and Jupiter in gate 16, what energy in a couple sentences, I guess, would you say the new moon is bringing in?
Yeah, just a lot of kind of what I said before, where it's just this massive expansion of that enthusiasm. That's what I'm
Mm,
feeling overall, is a lot of people just learning to get more expansive in whatever
mhm,
ways that means for them, and to get more enthusiastic with life. And then where the earth is in 9, so always, like, whenever I'm doing my transits and things, that's what I'm normally reporting to, because the sun and earth are always directly opposing each other in this chart, so I'm always showing like what sun and earth transit we're actually going through. So the 9 is a beautiful opposing code for this, because it does seem so opposing, which is also what I love about all these codes. Each that is literally opposing the other in this mandala are called programming partners. And then if you look at it, what it means is they are the exact equal yet opposite of the other in code. So each
mm,
where there's yin lines, there will be yang lines, and vice versa for these codes. So what that means is that's ultimate activation. This is where all of this twin flame, divine counterpart stuff has come
mhm,
through. Unfortunately, mass distortion, but the trueness of that journey is exactly this. It's these gene keys. It's that if you're really having that journey, you're with your genetic equal, but exact opposite in yin and yang. And therefore, you bring massive challenges to one another that is actually meant to massively uplift and change frequencies in huge ways. So the 9 it's actually very like, it's called small taming, and
mm,
it's very like detailed, focused, and oriented. But what it assists us in this time, it's helping us to do with the earth being there, is just like keeping us freaking grounded in the moment by moment progress of this massive air of expansion that's coming through. So just like letting that literal air through us and seeing what that's going to mean for our journeys and our inner self. But then, letting that 9 really be like, okay, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this task, and then we're gonna do this next, and then we're gonna do this, and just focus on what's right in front of us in those ways, so that we can actually integrate the expansion.
mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to, only because of time, I'm
Yeah.
going to, because honestly, I feel like I would have so many more questions, and I feel like we could talk about so many things all day.
Well, we could. Do you see? It's this system too. This is,
It is,
yeah,
yeah. It
yeah.
is. It's very rich in detail.
Yes.
So I'll pull up the layers of the energetic body, and maybe I know maybe you touched upon this already a little bit, but if you want to guide us through this diagram.
Yeah, and this was what I was speaking to earlier, in just trying to give a visual on my Instagram to kind of just show, like, this is what I believe is the true difference, and then therefore also the reason why someone isn't experiencing their true sky human design energetic blueprint is because that they're still in their, I call it 3D template or 5D template. I'm not saying you're 3D, I'm 5D. I'm truly speaking to the energetics of it. And it's just a good way to term some of these things. But in our energetic body, it literally has shown me that, yeah, that if someone is still resonating in their tropical design, then they're still in that energetic body that most humans thus far on this planet have been in and known, which is about third to fourth layer, and that's it. You won't start resonating or vibing with that true sky design until you start expanding that energy body and
Mm-hmm.
actually building the light body. So these are all of the subtle body layers and the higher chakras coming into your actual living, breathing, working daily experience of your
Mm-hmm.
energetic body, which most people are not in yet. They're just not there yet, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. But I do believe it's where we're going.
Yes. And it's very interesting how this one has like the red, orange, and yellow. So it
Mm-hmm.
seems like for the energetic body, using tropical human design would be getting stuck in the solar plexus being online, basically, likely because
Yeah.
of a false sense of self. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of what you were saying too, then only if you're only technically, if you're only in that, if you're even activating the fourth layer beyond that, that's why I have the green, because that
Mm-hmm.
means you are beginning to open up some energetics to the heart center, probably, but
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not aligned and needs a lot of clearing and purging, just like what we
Yeah,
spoke to earlier. So
exactly.
in order then to truly, and again, like back to like what I was trying to explain in my courses, like that's what it will walk women through. And yes, a very linear process, because I'm tired of hearing this too, like when you speak to these like higher dimensional things, that people then want to be like, then if you try to bring in any kind of terminology of 3D template, 5D template, or this step, then you do then they're like, well, that's just so linear. And I'm like, yes, we're having a linear experience, are we not? Like,
Exactly. I mean, even the upward spiral is
yeah, like it's like I still
it's one step at
massively,
a time.
yeah, and I still massively hold that, like, no, am I saying these things of which I've created is the Bible and you follow it and that is the way? No, but I'm saying this is a way, and this is a very integrated step by step way that can help you massively expand, but also in a safe way that's not going to just blow your energetic field out and then have you being this beacon for all kinds of who knows what kinds of energies here, because that's what else women are doing sometimes and not knowing. So
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, it is helpful to have some different kind of step by step processes that we can do um, in this very paradoxical dance we are doing with, yeah, then pulling in all of this very nonlinear information.
Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the last two charts that you had
Yeah,
sent. So if you could talk through these as well, or is it
yeah.
what? Yeah,
It's
just
it's
go for it. Uh-huh.
basically what I said.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, give some kind of a visual. Um, and just an explanation of why, like, for the last couple years I've had so many people that, like, if they do run upon my page and stuff, that they're just still like, oh, well, why, like, well, I don't resonate with that, I don't resonate with the true sky. And it's like, okay, well, this is why, like, and again, what's
Hmm.
hard is it's hard to show people this because they still can't even almost not look at this picture and be like, oh, well, that bigger, more bright one is better. And it's like,
But it
no.
is.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
It is though.
technically
Yeah,
yes,
it
but
is.
also, again, what's at the core of all that I'm doing is like, technically yes, but also technically just better for you. And then here's the thing, what always is best for us is knowing where the fuck we are and what it
Hmm.
is we're actually dealing with. So if you're in this 3D template, that's fine, be there, there's nothing wrong with that. That's where most of us have been in this human experience and still
Hmm.
are collectively. There's nothing wrong with that. But just know, like, look, you can tap into this, but also there's a process with this. So that's just kind of
Hmm.
like the what I'm trying to describe in the words of this post is just showing that it's the light body, it's the energetic clearing and then light body building
Hmm.
process that then enables us to, in a very energetic blueprint way, be able to tap into this higher blueprint that we have for ourselves, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of similar to what I find with a lot of people from at least, well, in the past when I was connecting with a lot of people still on the tropical algorithm and urging them to start utilizing the real sky was, if you're going to use the tropical algorithm, then you should know what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
should know why it was created, who it was created by, who controls the energetics. That way, at least you're coming from a place of informed consent.
Yes.
The fact that, like, oh, well, I've always thought I was this, for me, is not a good enough excuse
No,
to continue using it.
exactly.
It's like you need a better reasoning. You should be informed about the tools and systems that you're using, and then I release judgment. I'll judge you if
Yes.
you're using something you don't know what it is, but it's
Yes,
like I'll release judgment as long as you know what you're doing and you fully consent to it, rather than,
exactly.
a lot of these forces that impose these types of systems, tools, etc., um, with very subtle revelation of the methods sort of things that they then, misconstrue as informed consent when really these people have no idea what it is.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
my biggest
Love it.
mission is, getting information out there so that people are making informed decisions about which astrology they're using. And people who learn it, they all end up on the true sky,
Yep.
utilizing the true sky
Yep.
and getting rid of the tropical algorithm.
Yeah.
So it's been a 100% shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Mhm,
do want to clarify that,
mhm.
like, even though in my work I include technically kind of the tropical human design, I don't ultimately, I'm only having to still like include it because, like I said, that is where most people still are. So I'm only showing it to them in the way of like, look, yes, you're here now, but look, there's information that also, if you sink into this deeper, it's going to activate this higher chart for you, because that is a different unique thing about the human design charting system too, that I do just continue to find, especially with something like our incarnation cross in it. That's a huge key code, and also um like a gatekeeper almost of our true sky coming online. Is it's like, if we haven't fulfilled that tropical incarnation cross, which also there's gene key components of that too, like meaning also those codes just haven't up leveled in us, then no, we're not going to unlock that next chart that's going to give us now another incarnation cross and even more things to sink into in that way, like a higher purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, a lot of this is kind of step by step in that way, like where it's like, no, you have to fulfill this purpose first. And now sometimes it isn't like super collective, it can be a very just individual kind of purpose of that first chart, but then it's a huge part of then what will assist in activating the next. So I just want to, I don't know, what you said made me want to make sure people know, like, I don't work with tropical human design, except for in the name of like seeing what we need to still integrate from it, and seeing what gifts and cool things you're going to take from that chart, but still my focus is on the true sky, moving forward, moving into that.
Is that because your typical clientele are people who are still on the tropical algorithm?
I think it's, listen, you are the first person ever that I haven't heard. And no, any people that I know, I don't really know that many people anymore these days because I am on such a different timeline. So, like,
Yeah.
no, anybody who is coming in contact with me is definitely either on a higher timeline or getting there. It's just that there's something about this in the timeline energetic way of like literally needing to learn how to shift out of that old spacesuit or something. Like, this is what this feels like to me, where it's like, and of just like, it's been what they legit have been in their life. So like if you're trying to bring in this new energetic experience, even if they are in a for legit new higher timeline, that hasn't been their energetic experience with the world for a very long time, if that makes sense. So especially if it's like very different types, if I'm just going straight into like, oh yeah, you're a projector, but you've been a generator your whole life, that shit is just not going to resonate. And again, like I know this from direct experience because I was definitely a generator most all of my life until a lot of this started changing and shifting and occurring. Definitely I was. I know I was. Like I have no questions on that. So again, I'm sure that there's some exceptions, but I think just mass, like we have been living in a 3D world. So I think almost all people were like in this tropical human design blueprint because that's what we had to be in, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, interesting. It's almost like a death certificate.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that's really beautiful.
yeah.
Um, so is there anything else that you would like to share about True Sky Human Design before wrapping up?
I don't think so. No, I don't
Okay.
think so. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Amber,
yeah.
for being here. It was such
Thank
an
you.
enlightening and wonderful episode, and I know I learned a lot. I know a lot of other people are going to be learning a lot as well.
Good.
And like I said, I feel like we could chit chat forever, and thankfully
Yeah.
you will be back. So we will be
Yes.
discussing things further. So our next episode of the True Sky Crew, episode 3, is going to be a transit report. That's going to be Tuesday, July 15th at 7:30 p.m. EST here live on YouTube. And if you'd like to bring your questions, please do. And what we are going to do is I will have the Sky app up, and I'm sure Amber will have some charts, and we will both be decoding the transits over between a 28-day and 35-day cycle. And so you'll be getting two elevated perspectives of what is going on and a lot of different types of data to see what is to come. So I know transit reports, transit episodes have been highly requested a lot lately. So I'm really happy that we'll be getting to deliver that together. And you're our first guest to do so on season 2. So it's going to be really, really exciting. And definitely going to be so happy to welcome you back.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited too. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for all of this. It's been
Absolutely. So
beautiful.
everyone make sure you're watching. Make sure you're marking your calendar, but also make sure that you follow Amber on Instagram at Celestial Healing 444 and at True Sky Human Design. Follow both of her accounts. Check out her website and yeah, employ her services because they are incredible.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone who tuned in to the live. Thank you to everybody who is watching the replay. Let us know in the comments what you think about True Sky Human Design. Let us know if you have known about human design before you connected with the True Sky, what type you are, what you resonate with, how you've been making this shift, or if you need assistance making this shift, you know where to go. Amber Green is the woman.
Thank you.
So until next time. Make sure you keep looking up because you know the true sky don't lie. And remember, when you align with the true sky, you align with your true self. Until next time, thanks again, Amber.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.